Chapter 4. Muhammad opened his eyes. Williams and Daniel were looking down at him. "Champ, can you hear me?" "Wake up. The paramedics are on their way." Muhammad immediately knew trouble struck because in his vision a white plus sign with a red circle around it pulsed. "I'm gonna kill him! I am!" Williams screamed. "He's awake. Can you hear me?" Daniel shouted. Muhammad felt he was horizontal and realized a towel was under the back of his head. "What's happening?" Everyone was shrieking. "You fainted." Muhammad remembered seeing the metal dagger. "Oh, dang, did I? I did." "You did," Williams said. "I hate needles." Gabriel and Daniel laughed with eyes sealed. They were happy Muhammad was coherent. "We know, champ, we know. He's gone." Muhammad leaned forward. "Easy, champ," Williams said. "That idiot is getting kicked out of the AGC, I promise." Paul burst into the dressing room with his two paramedics. He immediately crouched down and shined a light in Muhammad's eye. "How long was he out?" Paul asked. "He just came to. In maybe 10 seconds he was out. He saw the needle and dropped. My man hates needles with a passion. We're sorry about that, champ. I didn't even see him with it," Daniel said. "Muhammad, do you know where you are?" the doctor asked. "I'm defending my title." Everyone laughed, because to them, seeing a badass faint is incomprehensible. But not to the paramedics. They were working. As for me, it's funny, and I'll use it as ammo against him soon enough. Now, back to the part where this maggot is talking again. "I'm fine. Why did he have a needle?" "Dwayne's on that now," Paul answered Williams. "I need to know. Is he able to fight, Doc?" Williams asked. "I'll find out." "That was quick," Williams said to Daniel as he forcefully whacked his back. Daniel patted Muhammad's back and said, "It was nothing. I knew he was going down when I saw that darn needle." "Well, you saved the day," Paul said to Daniel. Daniel looked around and saw Brandon, Gabriel, the paramedics, and others focusing on him. "Looks like I'm quick too. You ready to fight?" "Yes." "Hold on. I make the call." "Can you stand?" Paul asked. Muhammad returned to his feet amidst sighs of relief and cheers. Muhammad was nudged, with eyes closed, to check for balance. Paul measured Muhammad's heart and respiratory rates. "He's ready," Paul said as a tall, young Italian-American man entered the dressing room. "NAC is here," Gabriel said to Williams. "Williams," the dark-haired man with a mustache, as thick as his mother's, said with his arms extended. "Hal." The two shook hands. "Is your fighter all right?" Hal asked, as he opened his arms and circled his hands. "Yeah. That Dion Dunnett is shooting up." "I'm on it. By the way, outside is Ivan and his interpreter. You want me to bring them in?" "Yeah." Ivan entered and stood behind Hal. Ivan brought his large, hideous mole with him for all to see and for all to subsequently loathe. "It's time." This triggered Daniel to grab Williams's bag. Hal walked up to Muhammad with his fingers spread. Hal moved his hands like he was playing an invisible accordion and asked, "You all right?" "Heard you fainted." "Yeah." Ivan's interpreter babbled in Russian to him. Ivan smirked. Hal pointed toward Muhammad's eye and asked, "It feels fine?" "Yeah," Muhammad answered. "Our referee has been instructed to stop the fight if either of you are irritated by the devices." "I can't even tell it's there." Muhammad winked his right eye. "You shouldn't." Hal continued to move his hands as he talked, like he was friggin' conducting an orchestra. "I heard the news. It's tragic, and I feel for you and your family." Hal looked into the eyes of both Gabriel and Daniel. When Hal said the word news, Muhammad pictured the faces of his mother and father. The comment hit him as if it were a dagger stabbing a voodoo doll in the chest, because the pain was real, but the infliction invisible. Hey, the kid's fighting for them and he's gonna win. Just let him get out there, Williams shouted to Hal. Daniel arrived at the perfect time with the gym bag. Brandon dropped and unfolded a metal chair from Mohammed's hands. Williams, out of habit, dug in his bag and pulled out the gauze bandages. Williams wrapped Mohammed's hand and said, "I want you to forget about the war." Mohammed felt the soft material layering atop his knuckles. "Tonight your fight is bigger than that. You and I have done this over and over, champ. For years, you have fought your way to the top. Now someone is coming for you who's beaten you in the past." The gauze roll fully wrapped Mohammed's wrist and hand. Williams next started to unroll surgical tape over the dressing. "You don't care about grief. You don't care about heartache. You care about winning. I never met your parents, but I promise you, they are looking down at you and are more proud of you than you'll ever know, kid. You winning tonight means heaven is celebrating. But you need to keep your head down. Always keep your guard. He's a boxer and you know it." Williams pointed his finger at Mohammed, subtly referring to the technical knockout from their first fight. "You're going to use footwork like last time to keep distance. You are destined to be the heavyweight champ. Destined." Mohammed clenched and unclenched his hand. "You are blessed by God, like you and your brothers always say." Muhammad's heart rate was stable as he listened to Williams' pep talk and felt Daniel's and Gabriel's oily hands tenderizing his back muscles. Ivan started talking. To everyone in the room, they knew his vocal cords were making sounds, but his jaw and lips never moved when he spoke Russian. Ivan's words seemed to blend together. Trailing Ivan was the interpreter, asking Paul in the language he understood. "Ivan wants to know if that comes off?" "Yes, it does. Make sure you wipe that off," Paul said to the two. "We know," Gabriel replied, leering at Ivan and specifically his mole, which to Gabriel seemed to squint back at him. Williams continued, "He's coming for you. That Russian is wanting to kill you." Williams was shouting louder and speaking faster. "Are you going to defend your title? Yes. Is that title yours? Yes. Did you not work harder than he ever did to earn that?" "Yeah," Mohammed answered. "Make a fist. You like it?" The dressing was stiff. "It feels right." Williams meticulously copied the wrap on Muhammad's other hand. Muhammad put on his training gloves. He sprung up and into his defensive stance. Muhammad hit his left palm with his right knee and his right palm with his left knee, over and over until his heart was beating strong. The locker room door swung open and Brandon returned. "Here, give me the mitts." Williams pointed to the red and black duffel bag. Brandon obeyed and rummaged through the gym bag with the logo of an eye inside a right hand. He pulled out the foam punching mitts and strapped them onto Williams's hands. Muhammad swung his torso side to side and bounced his head up and down, but kept his eyes on Williams, who was moving the same way. "Come on, work the combo, like I showed you. Cut sharp. Cut into the punches," Williams ordered. Muhammad's fist lunged like a viper strike towards Williams's solar plexus. Williams leaned back and threw a punch. Muhammad dipped Williams's fist and followed with a straight right, making sure to keep his bones compressed and in a straight line, as Williams instructed. The force pushed Williams back a step. "That's it. So much power for someone so young." Suddenly, the security guard poked his body into the locker room. 4 minutes. His black face retreated behind the door. Muhammad defended one last jab, replied with his own jab, and rested his hands. Daniel quickly extracted Muhammad's mouthpiece, and Brandon hydrated him with a water bottle. Gabriel removed his gloves. Muhammad spit the water into a bucket and rolled his shoulders. "This is it! You ready? Is this crown yours, champ?" Williams yelled. He pushed Muhammad. Muhammad's feet stayed balanced, and he looked at Williams' thick eyebrows and gray stubbles. Williams was looking at the positive young man with keys to the world inches from his hands. "Yes, I'm the champion." Muhammad's heart was thumping. "We're moving out, boys. Don't leave anything behind." Williams glanced at Daniel and the others. "I'm gonna pray," Muhammad said. Williams cut the amp up music. Brandon, Gabriel, Daniel, and Williams stepped into a circle. "God, praise his name. Tonight is a big night for me and my family. Please give me the strength I may need to knock out my opponent. If I'm afraid, be there with me, please. Tonight, I am fighting for the memory of Mummy and Dad." He suddenly felt his brother's hands grab his hands. My two older brothers, Daniel and Gabriel, Muhammad thought. They both are honest in showing their feelings. They don't deserve what happened. Muhammad sighed. Again, the door opened and everyone heard, "1 minute. Peace and God's mercy and blessings be upon you all." Muhammad's eyelids shot open, and the period of waiting in the locker room came to a close. "Let's go," Williams said with a single clap, sending our fearless leader towards the door. His crew chased him. The stadium was packed with fans overhead, but their screams were a low rumble in the empty hallway. The basement air smelled of cold, damp concrete. Two security guards with arms like tree trunks sprinted up to Mohammed. "Champ, we gotta move you. We're gonna take you to the main portal," the lead security guard demanded. "Stay tight with us." Muhammad and his team understood the order and followed the two fullbacks dressed in Brooks Brothers. Muhammad heard a man screaming at the end of the hallway. It was Dion barking and growling at Dwayne and Tony Cato. Tony, the executive director of the athletic commission, stood with his chest puffed into Dion's space. Dion locked eyes with Muhammad and immediately stopped his argumentative tone. Tony and Dwayne turned around to see what snuffed out the fighter's fuse. "The GOAT. You going to show Boris you're the greatest of all time?" Dwayne asked as he bowed in jest. "No, don't bow to me. That is God's call, not mine." So modest. "Good luck, Muhammad," Tony said. Dion crept his shoulders together as Muhammad passed him. "Williams, I'll be right there," Dwayne said. "Make sure he never steps foot in the hexagon," Williams said, pointing towards Dion. The door was pushed open, and they flooded the foyer. People instantly recognized Limp Dick and his entourage. They swarmed the stanchions in velvet ropes. Behind the row of teenage boys and children stood screaming fans on the balls of their feet. Everyone was taking pictures and recording videos of Muhammad. The security guards rushed Muhammad into the black curtain. He entered the unlit vestibule, but kept moving forward in the dark. A second curtain was waved aside by security. Behind this velour fabric, packed shoulder to shoulder, were the masses. A single bright beam of light shone down on Muhammad, and a deafening noise hit his ears. His vision began its broadcast. Grant cleared his throat. "Muhammad Hussein has a record of 17 wins. 12 by knockout, 4 by submission, and 1 by decision. He has 1 loss. Standing in at 6 feet 3 inches tall and weighing in at 216 pounds. Our humble ass clown was pressed closer to the hexagon. "Please welcome, with as much noise as you can, the fastest man alive and the most God-fearing, the modest mongoose." Fans reached out, like hungry savages, to grab at Muhammad's hair and flesh, as if he was meat to eat. A woman with a big nose and big lips held a paper sign in her hands. "I love you, Muhammad," it read. The champion heard the high-pitched voice of another woman as he approached her. "Have my baby!" It was a curly-haired, dehydrated bitch amidst a group of other bitches thirsty for Muhammad's jock. Moving past this bevy was another camel who screamed so loudly she fainted. Her friends never caught her because Muhammad had their focus. However, instead of seeing her bust her head open, Muhammad, being the ever so delightful champion of the people, caught her. A different woman hopped over the barricade and cut around security and leaped over a second woman on the ground who fainted when she saw Muhammad catch the first woman. Muhammad blocked her from planting a kiss on his lips. A roar of laughter rumbled through the arena in reaction to the petite female's boldness. She was yanked away by security, but not without earning a smile from Muhammad, who kept marching with his crew towards combat. In the middle of this beehive of people was the hexagon. Film stars, famous musicians, and the political elite sat in trench seats around the apron. Tucked in with this group were people of the press, who jotted notes onto their tablets and kept their camera lenses on Muhammad. Muhammad stepped atop the foam with bare feet. He felt the padding folding under his heels. He smiled and blew a peace sign to his fans, and in response they amplified their voices. At this time, the referee came forward with brand new shiny 4-ounce gloves. Williams received the gloves and shoved them onto Muhammad's hands, as Gabriel rubbed Vaseline on his forehead and cheeks. Muhammad climbed the ice-cold steel steps. The referee nodded his head to signify he accepted Muhammad as a combatant. After losing his fight against the Russian concussion by technical knockout and winning his second by technical knockout, the current AGC heavyweight champion is here to go against his fiercest opponent in a battle which determines the champion. From Denver, Colorado, and fighting out of the blue corner, the unorthodox fighter, Muhammad Hussein. Grant's voice was overcome with an explosion of roars so loud that people screaming had to stop smashing their hands together and cover their ears. The ring girl's breasts jiggled in a pink bikini top, and her hips bounced as she walked towards Muhammad. Her blonde hair reached her tiny bronze waist. From this short distance, Muhammad had no choice but to give his attention to this model. Her blue eyes contrasted cherry red lips. However, this rat bastard once again thought of no lust. He only pondered the composition of feminine beauty God bequeathed to the women of Earth. Dude's such a queer. Once this blonde cocksocket walked by him, Muhammad watched the crisscrossing spotlights and scanned the lit crowd beyond the vinyl, chain-linked fence. Some fans in the lights sat appearing pensive. One older pot-bellied Texan in a cowboy hat sat with arms folded, viewing the ticking clock. Above his seat, a middle-aged woman couldn't keep her eyes off the model strutting around the hexagon. Other people were leaning on the edge of their seats, either tickling their wrist phone screens or scratching the arm of their smart glasses. One tatted-up Englishman in a suit leaned forward and vomited hard liquor onto the arena floor. Fans pointed out this obnoxious drunk to their giggling friends. Unintentionally, Muhammad's eyes landed on a chubby, pale-skinned brunette sitting a few rows in front of this party animal. She realized Muhammad was briefly looking in her direction. She batted her big eyes, toasted him with her plastic cup, and blew a kiss. While this heavy-set lady amused herself, Muhammad again ventured his gaze elsewhere. Finally, his thoughts were seized by the 40-foot polyester flag with stripes of red and white, and a white crescent with a white star over a blue background in the shape of an eagle, suspended from a truss. The crescent moon and star comforted him. I'm an American, he thought. He faced east with his thumbs up and fist outwards. Muhammad kneeled down on the canvas atop a Harley-Davidson decal. Muhammad asked God to deliver Boris's weaknesses to him and stood up, the way his father showed him as a child. Muhammad felt his dad's presence inside the hexagon as he repeated his prayer. Please welcome Boris, the Russian concussion Babakov, Grant screamed, as Boris came running down the opposing aisle, shadowboxing the air. Ivan and his crew were in lockstep, as he trucked through flailing arms. Boris has 12 wins with the AGC, all knockouts except one technical knockout and a single loss. Hailing from Kazan, Russia. Feared in his country for being born at the exact moment when a meteorite struck Russia, way back in 2013. He weighs in at 234 pounds and is 6 foot 5 inches tall. Fighting out of the red corner, please welcome Boris, the Russian concussion Babakov. A mixture of applause and boos rolled through the stadium. I hope all of you know who are watching this live. Mohammad and Boris's fight tonight, here at the MGM Arena, is going to be a privilege to watch. I'm not alone in calling this one of the most highly anticipated fights of the 21st century, especially considering for the first time, VIP subscribers can see the fighter's view, thanks to the people at Genius, who developed Oculus, the first camera smart lens. Boris entered the hexagon. He shook the fence and bared his teeth at the press. The press flashed their teeth back in fear as they looked upon Boris, who was already sweating. Now, for everyone's enjoyment, Mohammad will sing the national anthem. The masses howled and clapped. Mohammad opened his mouth and bellowed out the words. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright crescent with a star through the perilous struggle against the unfaithful in our God-worshipping nation. Mohammad stood still as he intoned into the microphone. His perfect key and intensity in pronouncing with pride every word brought a love for the United States out in every citizen, except for one man. Mohammad was distracted, slightly, by this Russian. Boris ice-grilled Mohammad and made the motion of snapping a neck as the poem was heard. Mixed martial artist fans stood on their feet until the song ended. Once they settled, their clapping hands by their sides, the referee motioned for the fighters to come together. Thousands of thuds from asses hitting seats echoed through the arena. Mohammad and Boris met at the hexagon's center. The two men made eye contact. Welcome to the hexagon. I'm the official referee, Nate Donaldson. Neither blinked as they listened. Even Ivan and Boris's second, Dmitri, remained bug-eyed. Williams and Gabriel were standing behind Mohammad, listening to Nate's words. Mohammad was too, but he was thinking about how he would crack the arm of a man who dared tattoo on his skin an American flag being torn by a bear. I want a clean fight. When I say break, you break. You both agreed to the rules of the state of Nevada earlier. Follow them. You will have 5 5-minute rounds. Do you understand? A Russian translator was there for Boris, but Boris understood what was happening and enunciated, "Da," at the right moment. Do you? Mohammad nodded his head. Yeah. The clock counted down to 10 seconds. The whistle sounded off and Daniel shouted from outside the cage. Let's go, brother! Yeah! Daniel pounded his fist into his palm. The stadium erupted with a deafening roar, and camera flashes glinted across the ocean of humans. 3 judges scooted forward in their seats. Mohammad, Boris, and Nate remained, as the rest exited the hexagon through the 2 gates. The gate doors closed, and the clock's seconds were down to the final 3. 2 seconds. 1 second. Mohammad heard the bell ring, and it was showtime. I would let that phony Grant narrate the fight for you. After all, he did undergo a backdoor surgery for his voice. But since I'm better at it, here goes. Mohammad and Boris charge the center. Mohammad plants and jabs first. Boris keeps his distance. Boris replies with a combination of elbows and fists. A big straight right is sent, but Mohammad blocks it with his bicep held tight to his head. Boris pressures Mohammad as Mohammad retreats to the fence. The Russian concussion now controls the hexagon. Suddenly, Mohammad rolls off the fence and lifts his body off the mat and whips a right knee into his opponent's jaw. Mohammad feels the connection and somewhere in his mind smiles because Boris experiences pain. But Boris keeps both feet on the canvas. So, Mohammad fires off an elbow, another elbow, and an uppercut. The uppercut is lightning fast, as is expected from the fastest man, and where it strikes Boris, it vibrates his skull like a tuning fork. Boris refuses to explore the canvas with his back. The whistle blows. The current champion and the Russian concussion spear each other at the same second. They grab hands. Both their heels anchor into the canvas. The timekeeper hammers the bell. However, the 2 fighters' wrists remain locked. The timekeeper bangs on the instrument's rim again and again until he resembles Animal the Muppet on a drum. Muhammad's 10 fingers continue to interlock with Boris's 10 fingers. Boris is struggling to snap the young man's wrists. Nate runs up and divides Muhammad from Boris. Both of you, this is a warning. When that bell goes off, you go to your corners. Believe me, I will foul you both. The sweaty champion returns without a word to his corner and sits on the stool Gabriel delivers. What were you doing? You want to lose a point? Williams shouts. From across the hexagon, Boris is shouting in English. I kill you! Williams crushes the water bottle into Muhammad's mouth. Gabriel ices Muhammad's bruises. Ignore that fool. Other than that, that was a good start, champ. That was your round, just like the next is. We'll take it one at a time, Williams says. Gabriel keeps the ice bag on Muhammad's temple. You kept control of his distance, but he's got reach, so remember you gotta watch his footwork too. Don't give him the chance again to hit you with those clubs of his. Muhammad moves his head up and down as Williams shares pointers. He's taken your combinations. You know he's strong. Can you tell? Muhammad nods. Meanwhile, Boris is spitting vitriol towards Muhammad in Russian and butchered English. Dry that mess up, Williams shouts to Gabriel, who runs a towel over Muhammad. The whistle sounds. Williams lifts the stool and Gabriel grabs his tools. The bell rings, the gate closes, and Boris attempts to beat Muhammad to the middle. The Russian concussion shoots on Muhammad. Muhammad flings his feet back and pushes down on Boris's spine. The Russian concussion is planted in the ground, like a seed. Muhammad passes guard, raining punishing punches and stinging elbows. But Boris's strength is too great, and he peels away to regain his footing on the mat. A raspberry appears on Boris's eyebrow ridge. Muhammad, taking no for an answer, races up and strikes Boris's eye socket with a Superman fist. Muhammad breaks through Boris's forearms with another flying knee, forcing Boris backwards with his thunderous hit. Muhammad curls his fingers around the Russian concussion's nape and uses his neck as a fulcrum. Flies his knee up again, and this time crashes it into Boris's nose. The impact splits Boris's septum, like a cedar log under a new axe. Blood, the stuff people enjoy seeing, pours down the Russian concussion's mouth and chin. Yet, Boris remains vertical. A rumble shakes the entire hexagon. Boris can't hear the crowd and wipes blood onto his hairy, sweaty forearm. He looks at his blood. Seeing his blood naturally makes him combust. He licks his upper lip and dilutes the blood in his mouth by swallowing it. He tastes burnt metal and grins. The big, bad Boris lunges forward and starts striking a well-defended Muhammad with elbows and headbutts. Muhammad backpedals from the center and crashes his lumbar into the cage. Boris lifts and dumps the cocksucker. His takedown is successful. Boris suffocates the grappler with his free hand. A couple minutes pass and the referee orders the two to the center. They pause and reset themselves. Nate unleashes the two and Boris shoots a salvo of straights, hooks, and elbows to Muhammad's upstairs, but every attack misses by a country mile. The timekeeper hits the bell again and again as Nate intervenes. He tosses Boris off Muhammad. "You're getting docked a point!" Nate shouts at the top of his lungs. He runs over and tells Muhammad about the penalty. Muhammad returns to the blue corner. He's breathing in deep like Makua Rothman, post-wipeout. The hexagon's custodian wipes a white towel into the bright red puddles. Nate sprints over and informs the three judges Muhammad wins round 2. Despite Nate nearly having a heart attack from Boris's disobedience, the crowd is thrilled as a leprechaun seeing all their gold. Nate returns from sharing the scorecard with the commission and asks Williams if Muhammad was all right. "You need to keep that Russian under control. He can't have his little road rage bullshit here." "We know. He knows. I fouled him and Muhammad has that round." The whistle blows and Gabriel leaves the hexagon with Williams. The third round kicks off with the men charging out like two bulls in their prime. In the fray, Babakov blocks a bounty of beautiful blows. Muhammad's creative combinations continue until finally it cuts into his opponent's cranium. Muhammad sniffs the Russian concussion's exhaustion in the acidic, scented air. Boris's defense is slowly becoming a dark, cold, and shallow well. And Mohammad knows it. The 10-second mark sounds off, and Mohammad tells himself it is time to crack open Boris's skull, like a ripened coconut in the hands of a Polynesian. He takes a step closer and hurls his entire body up in the air. The bell rings throughout the arena as Boris's nose is again smashed. Boris's eyes welt up with tears, like Brandon's would when a child and his stepfather pulled into their driveway. The disgusting maggot's significant strikes absorbed per minute rate hits 80%. This time, Boris stumbles to his corner without incident. Mohammad gallops to his corner, arms in the air, and rests on the stool. Ice-cold water squirts his face. It washes down his neck and chest and into his trunks. You're wearing him thin, but you need to not focus so much on his nose. He's gonna expect you to go for it. He's expecting you to target it, William shouts. The whistle blows. The bell rings. Remember, move. Stay on your toes. The fourth round starts with less fury. Muhammad's limbs no longer seem weightless, but heavy. His previous gloves, made of foam, now feel like they had been cast with iron. His once nimble feet are suddenly slow, because of oxygen-poor blood in every muscle fiber. Muhammad toys with Boris, like a cat with a mouse. The crowd must have this, and Muhammad can appreciate their desire. Come on, Muhammad slowly shouts. He fills the bottom of his lungs with air between words. Do something! The champion puts his guard down further by spreading out his arms and showing his palms. Boris sees this and shoots on Muhammad. In the blink of an eye, the wrestler pushes him aside, and the Russian concussion can only look up at Muhammad with bewilderment. How is he so fast? The Russian concussion asks himself. Muhammad sends a hook and it smashes Boris's dome, but not enough to cause a concussion. Boris staggers. The judges mumble to each other how it is possible for the Russian concussion to remain conscious. Is that all? You're done? Muhammad screams. The champion starts dancing around his foe. He claps his hand, inches in front of the Russian's face. Muhammad bitch slaps Boris's ear. This angers Boris more than anything, because Muhammad is lowering his competitive spirit. Boris is bitch slapped again by Muhammad, who is now smiling. The fans go bananas. A few more right jabs and slaps are dealt upon Boris's body. Shithead forces the weaker-looking Boris against the chain-linked fence. A nasty left hook, a vicious knee, and a colossal left elbow further destroy Boris and cause the placard to shake and the pattern of black diamonds to rattle again and again. The whistle blows. Muhammad pulls back to re-energize, and Boris takes advantage of this moment to regain his footing. So, Muhammad pauses to admire his handiwork, unimpaired. He closed his opponent's right eye, and Muhammad expected Boris's left eye to be swollen shut soon. However, between those puffy lids is still an eye with a twinkle. It looks straight at Muhammad and declares to him, I am a man. I am fearless. This defiance to Muhammad's might makes him furious. How dare he not fall, Muhammad thinks. How dare he be so stubborn? How dare he be so passionate about not losing? So, the little cocksucker begins to provoke Boris by tonguing away his mouthpiece and saying, You got it. Come on. Free shot. Muhammad crisscrosses his pointer fingers above his jaw. Right here. You think you can take me out? Fight, Nate demands. Muhammad, let's go. 4 seconds, Daniel shouts. Keep your guard up, Williams demands. Guard yourself. He's never done this. Keep your hands up, Gabriel screams. The crowd looks on with confusion and laughter. How could this barely standing Russian injure Muhammad? The masses think. Waves of deafening claps and continuous screams flood the hexagon from every angle. Muhammad looks at his pathetic opponent. Chapter 5. Muhammad waits for the right moment to strike the Russian concussion. Angelica thinks you can't please her, I whisper. Muhammad suddenly stops thinking of finishing the fight and instead remembers how he couldn't perform in their moment of passion. Meanwhile, back in the real world, the one-eyed Boris lifts his left toes and inches them forward, rear foot trailing. He raises his right fist, cocks it back, and snaps it into Muhammad's jaw, like a wrecking ball. To the select few watching the live feed, through Mohammad and a quarter of Boris's lenses, they didn't see what happened because it was quick. Viewers saw a man with a raw hamburger patty face launch his fist deep into Mohammad's button, right where his pointer fingers were intersecting. From this bone-cracking impact, Muhammad went airborne. There was the briefest moment of silence as the crowd processed Muhammad on his spine. Kids, women, dudes, and their brothers stopped being awed and jumped from their seats in hysteria. Boris darted towards the defenseless Muhammad. Meat-tenderizing punches pummeled Muhammad. Nate shoved the Russian concussion away from Muhammad. The Russian concussion paused briefly with his mouth wide open in surprise. He went ping-ponging off the 6 cages in celebration. Ivan burst onto the scene screaming like a pineapple had been shoved up his rectum. The bell was ringing and Ivan was latched onto Boris, riding him around the hexagon. Amidst all the chaos, Williams was hoping to wake Muhammad. "Champ, can you hear me?" There was no answer. Muhammad had no sense of what was happening to him. Finally, Oculus subscribers' black screens dissolved into a shining ophthalmoscope and a flashing red circle around a white plus sign. Paul and his 2 medics, as well as Nate and Williams, were huddled around Muhammad. Regaining consciousness after being knocked out, to you humans, is like being blackout drunk in an Arctic lake. You know nothing of how you got there, where you're going, but you do know one thing. You should be feeling something, but no. The little maggot quickly regained his memory by pulling his torso forward. All the men forbid him from trying to stand. Despite the joules of energy his brain meat absorbed, this little bitch started crying and crying hard. "No, I'm done. I'm done. Aren't I?" Muhammad sobbed. Williams patted his shoulder. "I'm gonna hover back from the hexagon in the story for a second for the sake of savoring the flavor. This is probably my 2nd favorite moment in wrecking his life, in my innocent and humble opinion. The fact is, the more he cries, the more his lacerations sting. Knowing a human's tears cause them additional physical pain is dope. It's as close to being a good time as when a funeral progresses into murder. Some Belfastites know what I'm saying. Anyway, an ensemble of idiots holding brass instruments formed outside the hexagon. "Please stand in recognition of the new AGC heavyweight champion of the world, Boris, the Russian concussion Babakov." Nate held up the Russian concussion's hand. The musicians were playing the Russian Federation's national anthem. "Wide spaces for dreams and for living are opened for us by the coming years. Our loyalty to the fatherland gives us strength. So it was, so it is, and so it will always be." The choir sang this verse as the golden band was stolen from Brannon and Daniel's custody. The Russian concussion's tongue rested on his lower lip as he listened to Sergei Mikhalkov's lyrics. Dwayne placed it atop Boris's caveman head, despite Boris rocking back and forth from exhaustion. Ivan held on to Boris, and Dmitri hopped around, waving the Russian flag like a giddy little kid sugared up on soft drinks. Muhammad walked away, facing only his feet as they stepped over rose petals layering the canvas. Muhammad would have walked headfirst into the door had not the security guard opened it and said his name. Muhammad entered and tore off his gloves, unwrapped everything, and sat in the folding chair. His hands held his face in silence. Suddenly, voices were heard coming into the dressing room. "They are not coming in here," Muhammad said to himself. The door opened, and the locker room quickly filled with Gabriel, Brannon, Daniel, and Williams. Muhammad yelled at them, "Get out!" Without delay, Muhammad stood and picked up the metal folding chair and swung it toward the white cinder block wall. But the object hit Daniel. Daniel's reaction was to be cool. He raced into the hallway, followed by his brother and friend. "What the hell?" Williams asked, standing his ground. Muhammad was sweaty, and his chest inflated and deflated. "You hit your brother." Muhammad wrinkled his face. "What did you do up there?" I don't know. His temper returned and he attacked the freestanding bag. The bag and chain rocked back and forth, but never tipped, although it almost did with one of his strikes. I lost. I lost? Why, God? Dwayne Dwight poked his head into the room. He saw Muhammad wigging out and shouted, "Wow, holy shit, stop, Muhammad." Dwayne jumped in front of Muhammad. Tony Cato casually entered behind him. "What's wrong with you?" Muhammad stopped beating the bag. Dwayne grabbed Muhammad's punching bag. "Get it together. Shit, you should have done that in the hexagon. What the hell happened? You throw your fight? People are saying you did. It's unlike you to taunt. It's out of character. I'm wondering if you did, goddammit." "What?" Williams asked. "I said your fighter is being accused of throwing the fight. I saw something odd, plain and simple. You can't argue that? My boy did something foolish. He's not a criminal." "Did you let him knock you out? What happened?" Dwayne asked again. "I don't know what happened." "You don't know what happened? Did he say that he doesn't know what happened?" Tony asked Dwayne. Dwayne looked at Tony and rocked his head in agreement. "Throwing a fight is a serious charge." "Don't listen to them," Williams said as he placed his arm over Muhammad's wet shoulder. "What a mess. You need to get a story together before the press conference," Dwayne demanded. "This is nonsense. We didn't fix the fight. He showboated. What's the big deal? The kid won't do it again. Does he look like he's happy?" Williams puffed his chest. "That's not what our intelligence shows." Muhammad moved away from them and sat on the couch. "Hey, where are you going?" Dwayne asked, clicking together his thumb and middle finger. "Get Paul to check on him again," Dwayne said to Tony. Tony left the dressing room in a flash. "My kid's upset. He lost his parents and now you're accusing him of rigging his own title fight. What the hell is wrong with you, man?" "Tony is verifying things here in a few and he'll make an announcement," Dwayne replied. "What announcement?" "We're going to find the truth." Williams put his hand on his brow ridge, closed his eyes, and paced. The door swung open again with Tony entering in front of Paul. Muhammad glanced in the hallway and saw Daniel standing and looking in at him. The two locked eyes. Daniel raised his hands and squinted. The door shut behind Paul. Light shined in Muhammad's eye. "AGC is taking precautions before we move forward," Tony said to Paul. "Yeah, I can imagine. That was ugly," Paul replied. "Hey, Muhammad, can you tell me where you are?" "Yeah, I'm in the MGM Grand Stadium." Paul put on his latex gloves and began feeling Muhammad's jaw for swelling. "Do you know what year it is?" 2033. Paul pulled out a tongue blade. "That's correct. Open your mouth." Muhammad opened his mouth. "Bite. Can you hold it there?" After a moment, Muhammad answered, "Yeah." "How do you feel? You feel sick? You feel like throwing up?" Paul took back the instrument. "No." "I want you to repeat these string of numbers. You ready?" "Yeah." 10, 1, 14, 9, 1, 89, 11. Muhammad repeated them without incident. "Checks out. You have an iron jaw, my friend. I felt his punch from my seat." Muhammad glared up at him and asked, "Did it end your career?" "No." Paul packed up his bag and walked toward the door. "Keep an eye on him over the next 4 hours. Look for erratic behavior." Williams interrupted. "More erratic than the modest mongoose provoking someone to hit him?" "Yeah. If you notice anything stranger than that, get him to the hospital." Paul again turned around and left the dressing room. Tony followed him and returned with 2 troopers. "Serve him," Tony said to Dwayne. Dwayne handed a scroll to Williams. "Everything's there to suspend Muhammad's license and to withhold the purse under bond until our investigation proves the fight was a clean fight," Dwayne said. "You sumbitch! You are not withholding his purse. What charges? What evidence? This is bullshit. You know it." Dwayne folded his arms and blew smoke from his nostrils. "Hey, Williams, this is not a conviction. Take a minute to read it," Tony added with his chest puffed in Williams's face. "It is notifying you of an investigation. That's it. It's our normal protocol." Williams poked his pointer finger in Tony's chest with each word. "No, Tony. Normal protocol is not pulling this shit. Tony casually brushed off William's finger and said, "Innocent men don't worry." He stepped even closer to the aggressive man who needed a diaper for that cleft chin of his. "I got this," Dwayne said to Tony, backhanding him aside. He pointed his finger in Williams's face and shouted, "Williams, we are pulling this shit, and we can pull it the hard way, or you can sign it." Williams looked down with squinted eyes and reviewed the electronic paper. Mohammad tapped Williams's hands and asked, "May I see it?" "Here." Mohammad took possession of the scroll and held it sideways, automatically switching the content on the screen to portrait view. Mohammad thumbed through the body of the document. "You will sign it," Dwayne said. "I didn't throw my fight." "If you didn't do it, we'll find out. You must realize half the planet is accusing you of a crime." Mohammad finished reading the language and signed with his fingertip. Williams threw his hands in the air. "This is like a scene from a bad movie." "No, this is real, and I'm not getting paid," Mohammad said. Dwayne snatched the glowing, paper-thin device back from Mohammad. He turned around and left the room. "Idiot in a hexagon," Dwayne mumbled. Tony and the two cops left behind him. Once everyone was gone, Williams asked, "My goodness, Mohammad, what did you do? Come clean with me now if you did something." "I didn't. I was beaten." "You don't deserve this. You're a prize fighter. Prize fighters don't arrange matches." Mohammad leaned back in the couch with eyes closed, rubbing his temples with his thumb and middle finger. Williams patted Mohammad on his knee and said, "Tell me, why did they say they have evidence?" "I don't know." "You feeling okay? Your tongue numb?" "My neck hurts. My head is bumping." Williams waved his hand because he knew beforehand the answer to his question. "You really are something else. Shower up. I'll be outside." Mohammad stepped out of his sweaty trunks and tapped distant thunderstorm mode on the shower's glass. He slid under the ceiling faucet. The sound of thunder slowly rolled in and grew louder. The overhead light flickered, to mimic lightning. Suddenly, hot water, mixed with warm puffs of air, streamed down over his cuts. The stinging on his lips and eyebrow ridge quickly subsided, as steaming rain bathed his body and sedated his mind. Sports news. The smart glass powered on, which automatically lessened the thundering sound effects. The glass illuminated with attractive faces sitting around a mahogany table. A woman and two men were chatting in Mandarin. Language selection: English. "And in the world of MMA," said a man with a box-shaped head, "tonight, 20-year-old Boris the Russian Concussion knocked out 21-year-old Mohammad Hussein at the MGM Grand Casino in Las Vegas, in an event the world is talking about and will be talking about for days to come. If you are on board the Orion heading towards Mars, here is the news of the century. Many are speculating tonight's fight was fixed." The blonde with a fat diamond on her left hand gasped, as did the bald bow-tie-wearing man. "Throw the fight? He'd get caught, wouldn't he?" the blonde asked. The bald dude with the bow tie looked up to his left and answered, "No, it's so easy to leave invisible money trails today. I mean, there are players that dwarf the contract he has with AGC." The lead anchor, with a Minecraft-shaped head, added, "It is suspicious. The Nevada Athletic Commission is briefing everyone here in the next half hour on the heavyweight fight. We will be bringing it to you live. The event will be covered by our very own Jeremy Schlott." There was a break in the script, which was being read by the crew. They were gathering their thoughts over the idea of Mohammad being foul. "It's definitely the dumbest thing to do in the hexagon, cheating or not cheating," the bald man in a bow tie said as he palmed his fist. The lead anchor replied, "It's a blood sport." A clip appeared on the shower wall of Mohammad outboxing Boris in the hexagon. "Look at the Russian Concussion here. He looks like Carrie," the woman said. The commentators laughed together. "Mohammad shot himself in the the face," the lead anchor with his flat-top haircut said. Mohammad watched himself spread his hands fully apart and expose his jaw. "This is my favorite part." Mohammad watched himself make an X shape on his jaw. Blam! Can you believe he made a target? How stupid can you be? What was he thinking? The woman asked. Let's watch it in slow motion one more time, the lead anchor said. Holy shit, his head almost comes off. Decapitation! Mohammad watched himself smashed by the Russian concussion. The video editor was replaying the moment of contact over and over again. Hank, the lead anchor man said to the video engineer with a chuckle. His two co-anchors were wiping their tears. You gotta stop doing that. That's painful to watch. I mean, look at how he hits. Look at Muhammad's blood. The three were laughing uncontrollably. He's gonna need to watch this to remember, the chick said between bursts of hysterics. Muhammad witnessed himself on the smart glass being knocked out, and to him it was a combination of embarrassment, deja vu, and amnesia. The referee kind of let him get hits in. Yeah, look at the referee. The lead anchor gave a direction to his video engineer. Zoom in on Nate Donaldson's face. Nate's face became big on the smart glass, and it showed him with his hands on his cheeks. The woman and two men were cackling and holding their sides at the referee's expression. He didn't know what to do. He couldn't believe what just happened. The woman sportscaster said, I don't think Mohammad did either. That's a career ender. They burst out laughing even more obnoxiously. The laughs seemed to continue on and on, Mohammad thought. Or did he? The break-jawed man said. Maybe. I could be wrong. Maybe he was thinking about the payoff, she continued. You sure are right, Stacy. Let's watch the fighter's face as he wakes up from a haymaker. The smart glass zoomed in on Muhammad's face, like he was looking in a vanity mirror. Paymaker, the shiny scalp man said with a smirk. His co-workers' cheeks blushed, and they smiled. That's good, Willie. Perhaps it is a paymaker Boris hit the ex-champion with tonight. The press conference is starting here in about 30 minutes, and I can't wait to hear Muhammad's opinion of the fight. Hey, you want to know why he made an X shape with his fingers? Willie asked his co-workers. Why? Make me an X-champ by pressing here. Oh, geez, the married woman said. Muhammad locked shut his eyelids as rain droplets, coupled with the darkness, shielded him from reality for only a moment. Eventually, he stepped out of the steam shower and wrapped himself in the terry cloth towel and walked towards his locker. Muhammad opened his white locker and saw his victory attire, earlier laid out on the rack by Daniel. He unplugged his wrist phone from his OLED shirt and walked to the mirror. Immediately upon reaching the mirror, he was startled by the reflection of a swollen face. My face has never looked like this, he whispered aloud, while simultaneously examining intently the cuts and fist marks in his dark flesh. Boris, you beat me. Suddenly, he saw the man in the mirror and how it resembled his dead mother. The cheekbones, his lips, his whole face was a copy of hers. What can I do? He thought. The significance of all this shit is phony, he thought to himself. Even that man in the mirror. He sighed and left his Oculus lens connected. Open missed messages. Muhammad saw an image of an envelope overlaying the real world. The number 12 above the stack informed him of the number of missed messages. He watched as the messages drifted on his screen. 6:10 p.m., 4/16/2033. Mohammad Hussein, this is TCN, the most like celebrity surveillance contractor. We invite you to livestream your post-victory evening. As the most sugenic celebrity, and with your platinum status, you would be at will to go where you like, when you like. But Good News Management Group has some suggestions. You will be given VIP access, all expenses paid, to every Las Vegas nightclub listed. After you win your fight, please sign with us and entertain your fans by broadcasting your lucky night in Las Vegas with TCN. We'll pay you 70% of advertising proceeds of each product or service endorsement which you voluntarily promote per a 6-hour episode agreement. Any incidental event occurring during transmission that our team of resolution experts deem defamatory to you is and will be fully insured up to your specified dollar amount per your social media insurance agreement. Open the link, and we'll deposit your payment within 24 hours. He swiped away the offer on his wrist phone and read the next email. 9 p.m. Mohammad Hussein, this is TCN, the most liked celebrity surveillance contractor. Good News Management Group has canceled your VIP attendance at every nightclub listed and is closing your account until further notice. This, too, was swiped away from his phone. God is great. His wrist phone rang, and simultaneously in the lower right corner of his vision popped up the photograph of Gabriel, holding his motorcycle helmet. Answer. Mohammad. Yeah? How are you doing in there? There was a pause. I'm dressing. All right. Williams said they want you out here in a few minutes. Is Daniel okay? Yeah, he's fine. We'll be in the hall waiting, Gabriel gently said. The call ended and Mohammad strapped his phone on his wrist as he strolled back to his locker. There, sitting on the rack, was his all-black shirt. He activated the OLED screen on his shirt by opening the application via his wrist phone. What media should I add? Mohammad thought. He browsed through video clips showing his career highlights. However, one option was not of his prior opponents being whooped, but instead it was of a poet's words flashing on and off with gilded filigree animation moving around the background of the screen. He selected it. The poem uploaded to his shirt. Righteousness in its true form is believing in God. Mohammad turned down the shirt's brightness on his wrist phone. He pulled it down his back, laced up his freshly printed sneaks with a small logo of a right hand and an eye inside it, and left the locker room. His crew was relaxing. It's time, William said, unfolding his arms and running up to him. Why'd you throw that at me? Daniel asked, lunging off the wall and planting his foot on the ground. Yeah, about that. You're gonna apologize. Gabriel hugged Daniel and said, Don't. I don't get it, Daniel shouted. Now's not the time to get anything. We gotta put this back together. Humpty Dumpty is in pieces. And if we're putting him back together, it starts by going up to that press conference, Williams shouted at Daniel. Who cares about the damn chair hitting you? To Williams, these were his boys. Now, it sounds like they're going to ask you about throwing the fight. Don't say anything about anything. Arnold told me to keep you quiet. The group divided up in the corridor, and only Mohammad and Williams were admitted into the brightly lit press room. I'm getting your crown back, so stay cool up there. I'll be here. If it's my destiny? Mohammad rhetorically asked as he hopped up on the stage's steps. Mohammad grabbed a seat, pulled it out, and gracefully sat at the table of fighters. Budweiser beer bottles were spread out like a college dormitory shelf. He saw Dion and Jay Cook both sipping beer. He noticed the one light heavyweight fighter known for wearing face paint in the hexagon. Boris hit the stage. The Russian had to be led to his seat by Ivan. The Russian concussion's whole body was stiff. His lips were fat, like he'd participated and won the Kylie Jenner challenge. His eyes were swollen shut, despite being bled. The poor bastard barely had the energy to turn and glance at Mohammad, not nearly enough to stand up and demand for his compensation. What mattered to him was the crown, which precariously balanced itself on Boris's caveman skull. Meanwhile, Mohammad received a text message from Angelica asking him to call. He heard, "Welcome, everyone. I'm starting off by saying that is what I call a fight night. AGC 410 will not be soon forgotten." Those in the press instantly responded with cheering, clapping, howling, and whistling. Okay, y'all, let's get down to it. We all saw something tonight that I never would have imagined. It's unbelievable, but in this sport, I guess, Dwayne chortled. It's only believable in this sport. That's what we do here at AGC. We bring the unbelievable to your screens. Boris, the Russian concussion, knocked out Mohammad Hussein. He emphasized the words knocked out in his announcement. The anticipation for this heavyweight championship fight was unparalleled, and it didn't disappoint. Now we have the Russian concussion wearing the crown. Dwayne looked at Boris. He paused, in the hopes Boris would acknowledge his good fortune. You there, Boris? Boris was looking around, like a blind man high on LSD. Ivan mumbled, Duh. Russia #1. He raised his meat hooks and slowly shook them, but the man couldn't hold them up for long. He dropped them heavily on the table and flashed a grin. A judgmental voice shouted, Mohammad, toss that fight. Who is that? Jeremy Schlott, ESPNN. A petite male with a handsome face and long brown hair said. You're jumping the gun, Dwayne said. Jeremy flipped his hair from his face. It's a race to find answers. That's journalism. Very well. Dwayne crossed his arms. I've been made aware of that allegation. Excuse me, I'm Erica from Pop News Talk. We have a John Doe claiming your fighter, Mohammad Hussein, told him to bet on Boris Babakov. Dwayne squinted at the woman with smart glasses. Mohammad, would you like to comment? Mohammad didn't respond. You don't seem too upset about this charge. Obviously, people think what they want to think, so why waste my breath in telling you all the truth? Perfect. Glad you're cooperating. Look, Erica, there's a lot of hot air going around about this fight. Because of this, the commission has an investigation underway as well as an internal AGC investigation. This means the purse is held in escrow. However, Mohammad has assured me, NAC, and others this charge is baseless. If that's the case, we'll be moving on. Quickly, there were cameras clicking, mouths murmuring, and plenty of gasps. A moment later, Tony walked onto stage and whispered in Dwayne's ear. He walked off, and Dwayne said, Erica, please know if it is true, you have an obligation to contact NAC with the identity of that person. And ESPNN, Jeremy said, fingering up the smart glasses resting on his nose. Buzz off, you crumb snatcher, before I tell everyone about you roofying your intern. Oops, I just did. The crowd erupted into laughter. Jeremy was shoved in the back by a cackling man. The 140-pound schoolboy in a J. Crew gray blazer bit his tongue clean off, because defending himself before the world would add credibility to Erica. Jeremy stood up and raised only his middle finger to Erica. Erica was so offended she threw her drink at him. The press conference exploded into disorder. Mohammad stood and walked past the half-awake contenders and pack of jackal journalists. He passed Boris. Mohammad paid no attention to the golden crown that rested atop his beat-up eyebrow ridge. The Russian concussion was looking off into space, probing wounds with his finger. 4 security officers escorted Mohammad away from the stage. Get away. Williams clotheslined the security. Williams, where's your fighter going? He's not excused, Dwayne announced. You watched him come up through the ranks. You know him, Dwayne. You're gonna get it when we show up at a different organization. He turned back around and walked with Mohammad out of the room. Dwayne squeezed the lectern's edges and shouted, No, he can't. Get back here. Get back here. How can they suspend my license? Where the hell did they find someone to say you wanted Boris to win? This is a witch hunt, Williams said. Daniel, Gabriel, and Brandon watched on their wrist phones. Mohammad and his trainer charged out of the press room. They turned their heads and saw the live broadcast fuse with their perception. The 3 left their seats and joined their brother and Williams. I don't know, Mohammad answered. He was thinking of the people he spoke with in the last 3 months. So many interviews. Arnold's gonna get to the bottom of this. He needs to get his ass back to the States. How can they say that in front of 1 billion people? Daniel asked. View hungry, Williams answered. Mohammad didn't respond, and his team looked at each other, waiting for someone to clear up the moment. I'm jobless? Mohammad said. You feeling okay, brother? Daniel was worried Mohammad had traumatic brain injury. My career is over. You're suspended, not fired, Mohammad, Williams said. They returned to the dressing room. Williams looked at his lit-up wrist. It was Tony calling him and demanding they got together and talk. The call was X'd out by Williams. Shit. Shoot, I mean. I gotta go. Oh, you have to be out in 20 minutes to greet Blue Ribbon fans. Daniel, make sure he's there. Williams looked at Mohammad. Your fans care about you at least. He walked out of the locker room ranting about how he would be unemployed soon. Daniel said, Mohammad, what you did is so not like you. Why'd you lose? I didn't. I don't know. I didn't think he could hurt me. Daniel flung his hands in the air and showed his back to Mohammad. Daniel faced his brother again. You have all your stuff? My bag. Daniel grabbed Muhammad's gym bag. Daniel left the dressing room. Muhammad took a second to capture the sight with his Oculus lens, realizing it may never be seen again. The photograph of the all-white dressing room had been uploaded to Muhammad's gallery, where it received no love, except a few hearts and encouraging comments from Daniel, his wife, Gabriel, Brannon, and Angelica. Security led the two to the lobby, where the blue ribbon guests had been waiting. Children, teenagers, and parents stood together waiting for the world-famous fighter. When Muhammad arrived, they swarmed him. A dozen voices shouted questions to him. Why did you lose? Does your mouth hurt? Did you not want to win? How can you not fight? A lanky blonde-haired man wearing smart glasses confronted the crowd. One at a time. We'll open the line in 2 minutes. The tall blonde man dropped his hands and faced Muhammad. The modest mongoose. Good to see you again. You okay? Nick asked, while shaking hands with the brothers. Daniel, Nick said. Not really, Muhammad answered. Well, my supervisor called and wanted me to let you know. When one of our clients is not first in their competition, we bring them a special gift to show them their skills and talents are recognized by us at Blue Ribbon Entertainment. No matter where they place, they're always a star. He smiled and his blue eyes brightly shined. That's great, Daniel said. Thank you, Nick. Is it here? Muhammad asked. No, it'll be delivered shortly. Let's start, champ. Nick clasped palms with Muhammad and ran up to the podium. A group of Muhammad's biggest fans stood on the rug, under the vaulted ceiling and chandelier lights. Are the biggest fans of the modest mongoose ready to give him a warm welcome? The crowd enthusiastically kept their mouths shut and their hands apart as they collectively pictured the cost of meeting this tool. Here he is, the most amazing fighter, Muhammad Hussein. Nick hooked his fingers between his neck and shirt collar and pulled, as all the fans rolled their eyes and shuffled their feet. A father and son were the first to meet Muhammad. Dallas, you want a photo? The tiny 9-year-old boy looked up at his father with a frown and was silent. Where are your gloves? Didn't you buy them? His chubby-cheeked child, in a bowl cut, shook his head, signifying the answer no. He's not usually shy. He's a quitter. Everyone's making fun of me for meeting him. The boy showed his father his little wrist phone. On the screen were people commenting on his Genius Profiles update. The child ran off into the crowd. The father chased his son. Muhammad looked at Daniel like a cat would in a room full of rocking chairs. Next, 2 teenagers with passes hanging from their necks were in line. Can we get a photo? Sure. Muhammad relaxed his shoulders and welcomed these normal fans. The one kid with a black LA Lakers headscarf posed in front of Muhammad, while his buddy took a photo. The two swapped positions. Is that all? Yeah, we wanted to show our friends we got photos with the dumbest bastard in the AGC. Hashtag the brightest burns the quickest. You mark-ass bitch, Muhammad. The 2 boys, who once loved Muhammad, lifted up their middle fingers, laughed, and left the fighter to ponder over his hashtag that indexes his photo with the other photos that include the same hashtag. It is a stupid idea you humans came up with to share your data. Anyway, back to the story. You punks! Daniel shouted. A man wearing a leather coat over a suit and tie wedged himself between the retreating kids and Muhammad. He seemed rough, with a shaved head, and the worry lines on his forehead resembled whales of corduroy. Muhammad. Bruv, you haven't forgotten me, have ya? He spoke slowly. Muhammad squinted his eyes to recall who he was and instantly tipped his head back to avoid his alcohol breath. Yes, you and I met at my last fight in London. You co-own a gym of mine. Oh yeah, Daniel said. Yeah, great memory. The drunk man dropped his fists on the table, wrists concealed. Swirling tattoos covered his hands and diamond rings were on most of his digits. Fair deep of you to lose like that. The sweet smell lingered in the air and was potent enough to spark up breathalyzers in the next room. Daniel looked at Muhammad with raised eyebrows. Bruv, I just want to say, I've watched all your fights. That crown is yours. But it's on that piece of shit Russian's head, though, isn't it? Muhammad and Daniel leaned back further as he bowed his body forward. You want a photo? Daniel asked. No, I don't want a barmy photo. I just wanted to hear you say you didn't vote to fight. He was knocked out, man. Nobody throws a fight by getting knocked out, Daniel calmly answered as he stepped forward. You let him knock you out. He raised his voice louder and pointed his finger at Mohammad. Two men standing behind him chimed in, instead of admonishing the man. Security stepped up slowly to the fan with bloodshot eyes. I saw ya. You was the best fighter in our generation, and you lost, you prat. That Russian has it now. He spit at Mohammad, who dodged the stranger's mucus by shoulder leaning, like Neo in the first Matrix film. Get him! Daniel screamed. Security tackled the man. He was bawling his eyes out and clawing at the ground as he was dragged by the ankles across the floor. Drunks, Daniel said. After this incident, the hostility from fans remained constant. Several photographs later, Mohammad had Daniel bring Nick over to speak. What can I do for you? Nick asked. Mohammad whispered, I gotta go, Nick. What do you mean? What's wrong? You can't get up and leave. Your gift hasn't even arrived yet. But I am. Everybody's losing it. Nick couldn't argue this fact. You and I have been doing this for years. Have you ever seen this? Mohammad asked. Nick looked around with his sky-blue eyes, and each person was mean-mugging Mohammad. I can't let you leave. You are contractually obligated to stay until 11. I'm gone. But look at all your merchandise you have yet to sell. There was not a single person standing in front of Mohammed's 3D printing vending machine. Think how damaged your reputation will be if you leave. Know what I'm saying? Nobody will like you if you split, Mohammad. I'll guarantee it. Mohammad rose up and grabbed his Gatorade. Nick raced over to the microphone. Everyone, are you all having a good time? I sure am. He smirked and watched the crowd. The only sound was of a cough. As I look around the room, I see a lot of dreams came true right here. For you die-hard fans. Nick spoke with air from the bottom of his lungs. He turned to Mohammad and continued. A lot of you came from across our nation to be here. I know all of you were jumping with joy before the meet and greet, but it's with regret I have to inform you, or maybe, Mohammad, you can. Can you step up here? Mohammad was walking towards the exit. Mohammad has to leave early. It's going to be fine. I know. I'm sorry. Nick's customers lowered their heads at him and kicked the carpet. We'll show highlights, and there's still pretzels and root beer. Can we get more? Stay back! No! No! Help! Mohammad left the room without knowing why Nick was screaming. Williams is going to hear about this, Daniel said. So? You destroyed your fan base back there. Fan base? They're all hateful because I lost. They're upset, not hateful. Who cares? Actually, tell Williams I left. Tell him why. Daniel called Williams. He talked to the man with a chin that'd make African-American women jealous. Daniel handed Mohammad his wrist phone as they entered the parking garage. Williams wants to talk to you. Daniel followed the arrow through his smart glasses toward their ride. Mohammad was on his brother's heels. Sup. Mohammad, I've known you for a long time. You were 17 when I took you in. Williams spoke like he was carefully choosing his words to make a point. I was there when you met Angelica. I was there when you two were married. I prepped you for your first fight. And tonight, I'm hearing accusations making me wonder if you're keeping something from me. Are you? Mohammad and Daniel walked through the revolving glass doors. There stood Joshua in his suit and tie and white gloves in front of an ivory-colored van. That hurts. Why would you say that? Joshua was smiling as he reached for Muhammad's bag from off Daniel's shoulder. Mohammad and Daniel entered the cab. Because they have some anonymous man claiming you told him to bet on Boris. That makes no sense. I never did. And if I did, is that illegal? No, but it is suspicious enough to suspend your license after you lose a fight that way, Dwayne says. Their decision to terminate your license is pending more info. It's the last thing they said a minute ago before Daniel called. This is really happening. You are a fighter, Mohammad. It's in your blood. They may suspend your license, but they will not stop you. Where to? Joshua was brief in his words and avoided eye contact. Daniel was too exhausted to read his body language, which showed a nervous man. You know, to be honest, I'm fine with it. AGC wants to do this, let him. Daniel looked at Muhammad to get his attention. That's bull. That's a bad attitude, Mohammad. You have come too far to let some rumor destroy you. Mohammad was listening to William's vent. Daniel tapped Muhammad's knee and pointed his ear towards Joshua. Do you remember when I won Coach of the Year? Yeah. Do you remember me telling you I deserved it only if you were the undisputed heavyweight champion? Yeah. If you want to stop fighting, fine. But I'm throwing my damn trophy in the trash and starting over with Daniel. Muhammad showed the front of his pointer finger to Joshua. We'll tell you in a minute, Daniel said to Joshua, who closed the door. Muhammad's shirt lightly illuminated Daniel's face a golden hue in the dark. He's a fighter too, Muhammad said. Daniel nodded his head in the dark. Don't you understand? I want my trophy to be true, please. I gotta go. You lost your mind too? I don't know. I lost the fight. William sighed. You have plans tonight, or are you going back to the suite and resting? I don't know. You know, honestly, I'm wondering about God. Is he doing this to me? Aw, heck. I can't answer that, son. You know that. The screen turned on, and Joshua was waiting with hands folded over the steering wheel. I have to figure out why this is happening. We'll see you tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm not tired. I'm in shock more than anything. God's not answering me, and I don't know why. Williams was speechless. Brandon is there for you, and so is Daniel and Gabriel. Get some rest, champ. I'm going to work my tail off to make sure you have a career in the morning. Night. Williams ended the call. Williams is angry. They haven't said who the source is who is claiming I told someone to bet on Boris. But it's a lie, Daniel said. Joshua heard this and swallowed saliva in his throat. Where to? He asked, loosening his tie to vent body heat. Muhammad said. I really appreciate that tip you gave me. Joshua was interrupted by Muhammad's wrist phone flashing. Oh, I haven't even seen my girl. I've been so busy. Muhammad tapped the answer button. Angelica appeared in the corner of his vision. Are you okay? I can't see you. Yeah, I'm in my shuttle. Mohammad put the phone to his ear. Angelica's view on her bedroom smart wall of her husband's real-time surroundings transitioned into his genius profile picture. Oh my goodness, it's awful. Daniel called me and told me everything. You must be devastated. You want me to fly down? No, you don't need to. What happened for a reason. I know it. God wanted it this way, right? Yes. Abrar and I already visited the temple. Muhammad was comforted by her love for his family. Are you really suspended? She asked in a sweet voice. Yeah, until they clear me. How could that be? Daniel opened the van door. Where are you going? I'm giving you 2 privacy. No, let's go. Find out where Gabriel and Brandon are. The van door closed again and Daniel jumped on his phone. I didn't do anything. God is upset. You lost your parents, your job, and your title all in 24 hours. You need to talk with God because he is calling out to you. But I don't understand why. It's in God's plan. They're at the casino, driver. We need to pick people up at the main entrance, Daniel said. The van drove out of the parking garage and down the street. God's plan? Fired on the same day I found out my parents are murdered? I'm just saying. No, don't do this to me. Muhammad waved his hand in anger. What do you mean, no? Do you think God would toy with you? With me? With us? I don't know. He wouldn't. Would God? No. Go to the temple in Vegas and pray for forgiveness. Muhammad slowly placed his hands over his ears and stretched his spine. No! He screamed into his phone. He ended the call. You all right, brother? Angelica's saying God is punishing me. God is punishing me? Think of that. I don't know how to react. God, praise his name, is angry, maybe with me, but I don't know why. He wouldn't be angry with me if I never offended him? Repent. She is a great woman to reveal it. I must admit, even I was wondering. It's a trial. It can't be, he said to Daniel as he stroked his beard. Chapter 6. Once Muhammad's beard was shaped into a cone, he opened the email. Muhammad Hussein, this is a special invitation extended to you. Dominic Henderson is a huge fan and would be honored to have you as a guest tonight. You will see attached a VIP pass to the festivities. Please respond if you would like to attend. This is a masquerade party. If you need masks, we will provide them at no charge. If you need guest passes, please respond with a quantity. This is an invitation to Dominic's masquerade and gaming party. Located in the McDonald Highlands. Party begins at 11 p.m. No recordings. Please sign Snowden Insurance's social network defamation waiver if attending due to high potential of illegal recordings and pirated distribution of events. I'm gonna go to a party. Muhammad popped off to Daniel. That's a subject changer. Whose party? Dominic Henderson. Huh? Never heard of him. Genius. Who is Dominic Henderson? Daniel spoke to his wrist phone. A voice said with the same accent as Daniel, Dominic Henderson is the CEO of the largest adults-only film and mixed reality gaming production company. In 2028, the adaptation of House of Dolls became the highest-grossing adults-only mixed reality game in history. That's great. And you want to go there? Yeah. Let's see if Gabriel and Brandon want to go. The van came to a stop, and Joshua opened the door. Sir? How'd the Blue Ribbon event go? Brandon asked, as he sat in the leather cushion. Like nothing else, Muhammad sarcastically said. Yeah, I've never seen people angry at Muhammad. Joshua closed the door. No way, Gabriel said, as he joined his brothers. Why? What happened? Brandon asked. Some drunk spit at Muhammad. Others cursed him. They think he took a dive. But Muhammad doesn't care. He wants to go to some masquerade party at a porn magnate's villa? After he believes God, praise his name, is angry at him. You serious? Gabriel asked. God, praise his name, is mad at you? Brandon asked. Make amends with God, brother. Do it. Please. Forget about a party, Daniel said. Nah, I'm gonna be open-minded and go to this party. You're gonna go? Brandon asked. Yeah, it's a masquerade party. I don't care if it's at a porn magnate's mansion. What's a porn magnate? Gabriel asked. It's someone who is rich because they deal in sin, Daniel answered. Who? Gabriel asked. Let me look again. Dominic Henderson. I've heard of his parties. They're the ones in the news all the time. He makes people sign waivers, Brandon said. What about Angelica? You really want to go where naked whores will be? Gabriel asked. Yeah. What about her? She is jealous of other women. You told me. But I need to go. I have to go. It's not right, Daniel said. It will be. If I am being afflicted like you and Angelica say, God will explain. God isn't going to appear out of thin air. His spirit doesn't do that unless you're a prophet, Daniel said. Brother, have you witnessed what's happened to me? To us? Have you seen what we have all been through? Muhammad raised his voice. I am compelled to go. If going to the masquerade is forbidden, may God punish me tonight. Daniel shook his right fist and placed it in front of Muhammad's face and shouted, Begone, evil eye! He kept his right hand in Muhammad's face. Begone and move away from the fire that burns you, my brother. Muhammad pushed Daniel's right hand away and said, I'm not cursed. The tension between the two increased, and someone had to speak, or the peace would cease. Brandon cleared his throat on purpose. If you go, I'll go, he said to Muhammad. If it makes you happy, Muhammad, I'll go too, Gabriel said. Daniel? Brandon asked. He looked at the man with a patchy beard. I'm gonna be uncomfortable. I wonder if I can even find people I know who are going, Daniel said as he looked on his phone. Yeah, it's an anonymous attendee list. I need a mask. Me too. It says here, ask and they'll provide them.
but you each need to sign Snowden Insurance's social media defamation waiver. Mohammad drafted a response. Where to, boss? Joshua's voice emanated from speakers. Before Mohammad can answer, Daniel interjected. Hold up. Mohammad received the 3 other VIP passes and forwarded the information to his crew. Hey, Joshua. Yeah? I just pinned the address. Daniel was looking down at his phone. His fingertips balleted across the glass screen. Oh, wee! Choke fun for your brothers tonight. Dominic's mansion. Daniel shook his head. You've been? Oh, yeah. Shoots. The kind get picked up at 5 or 6 in the morning. Party animals there. Oh, boy. Some of the craziest stories they got. Mohammad looked up from his wrist phone. So going out there will get my mind straight? The women will get your mind straight and other things straight. They drove out to the estate, with Joshua laughing the whole time. Mohammad and his brothers approached the mansion. It was close to midnight when they pulled up to the metal gate. A gatekeeper asked Joshua for the password. What's the password? Love is above, Mohammad answered. He makes porn and that's the code? That's pathetic, Brandon said. The gate opened for them. All right. Hey, Mohammad, bruh. Listen the tip you gave. I love you for it. Joshua winked. Tomorrow I pay off debts I've had since forever ago, and it's thanks to you. Joshua shifted his sweaty butt cheeks in the driver's seat. He glanced at the camera in the cab. Yeah, no prob, Mohammad answered, phubbing Joshua. You don't know this guy? Brandon interrupted. No, he sent me an invite. I don't know why. Joshua waited for an opening in their conversation. Would you want something back? He was recording Mohammad. I don't like this. A mega pornography producer? Look at this opulence bought with unchased money. I'm kind of second-guessing this, Brandon continued. Would you like something back? What? Mohammad asked Joshua. You help me out, so, brother, I help you. Yeah, just be waiting for us to leave, Joshua. That's what you can do. We're not staying long, Daniel said. Why not? Mohammad asked. Daniel crossed his arms. Think about it. Joshua realized they were not listening. Mohammad, we'll talk later, buddy. You've been great, but as you know, I've got a lot going on. Mohammad turned off the call with Joshua. Daniel looked at the hedges out the tinted window. All right, we came. Who's ready to leave now? I am, Daniel said. What's the worst that can happen? You lose your job? Or more? Mummy and Dad find out we're not following God's rules? Mohammad asked. The Mercedes-Benz van stopped and the door opened. Before Mohammad's feet hit the pavement, a silver platter with masks was presented. Gentlemen, on behalf of Mr. Henderson, the old man with liver spots spoke. Excuse me, the maggot said as he split from the van. Sir, you may take a mask if you so choose, each of you. No thanks. Daniel, Gabriel, and Brandon each grabbed masks. They hurriedly emptied out of the Mercedes-Benz after Mohammad. This does look rad. Gabriel pulled the smart fabric balaclava down over his head. His mask was of white clouds slowly crossing a blue sky. He placed his smart glasses over the eye holes and showed his teeth in the sky. You can enable skywriting with the app, the butler informed Gabriel. Really? Thanks. It's tight on my head, but not too tight. Mohammad was standing by himself on the bottom step. Frozen directly above him was a full moon. You know Entertainment Now News is going to rip him a new one. Why didn't he grab a mask? Should we grab him one? Gabriel asked. Brother, he won't put it on, Daniel said. We should try, Gabriel insisted. Yeah, it is a good idea, Brandon added. Daniel snatched a mask. You coming? Mohammad called out to his crew. Looks dead. Let's go. I'm hungry, Daniel replied. The guests are all inside, sir, or in the backyard. There are refreshments and an open menu, the butler explained with a dignified English accent. Heard that, Mohammad said. Hey, Joshua said. We'll get you when we need you, Daniel said to Joshua. who hung his head and walked out of sight. Muhammad ascended the brick steps solo. Daniel pulled the mask down over his head. 1,000 tiny reflectors embedded into the fabric made it resemble a disco ball. "This is so stupid," Daniel said. Muhammad was at the top of the portico when he stopped and listened to all the strange noises. A male voice was chatting in the lawn. 2 men and 2 women were wandering in the silver moonlight. The men were voicing their opinions about their vacation and seeing last night's eclipsing moon, when their conversations changed to the sighting of an owl. Overhead, Muhammad heard a single feathery flap and saw a flying body gracefully soaring past the group and land with claws out on a branch in a distant tree. Muhammad froze and watched the creature step with its feet closer toward the crotch of the limb and face him. Fear struck Muhammad, and his heart raced as large yellow eyes, circled with mascara, stared into Muhammad from afar. The couples chased after the bird and disappeared behind a line of shrubs. Their clamoring receded into the sounds of chirping crickets and a hooting owl. The 3 reached the arched doors under the portico. "What's that? That's not an owl, is it?" Daniel asked, lifting his heels off the bricks and standing on his toes. "It is." Gabriel heard this and bit his nails and said, "We need to go back." "Why?" Brandon asked, with his skull mask. "That's an omen," Daniel said, with fear in his eyes. 2 monkey-masked men pulled the arched door's brass handles, revealing a brave new world before Muhammad. "I gotta do this. Trust me," Muhammad said, as he led his crew into the vestibule. He looked around at the bamboo wood trimming and marble flooring. Golden drapes were the final partition between him and the party. Muhammad imagined arriving at the party and everyone talking about his loss and pointing at his bruises. He considered retreating back to the car. However, his opportunity to be timid had passed, and he entered the crowded foyer where a blindfolded man in a tuxedo was tickling the ivories of a wet black Steinway. Daniel, Gabriel, and Brandon ran up to him. "Muhammad, wear your mask!" Daniel shouted. Muhammad waved the back of his hand and carried on his way. "I saw that. He doesn't care." "Well, boys, he's hitting a fly's glass at this despicable place, if God does not send down brimstone first." "There is a warning no one record anything on the property," Brandon said, with his pantyhose-type balaclava depicting a 300-degree viewing of a human skull. "Yeah, 'cause the flies aren't paid to hide out and wait for super celebrities like Muhammad. He's gonna make people rich with his carefree attitude," Daniel said. A skull talking about the security of Muhammad's reputation couldn't mellow out Daniel. "Maybe Brandon's right. We don't know if there's flies here," Gabriel said. Muhammad stood in the middle of the crowd and unwrapped his wrist phone. He searched for the estate's map. He soon found the property, clicked it, and peeped it through his Oculus lens. Daniel, Gabriel, and Brandon walked up behind him. They waited for him to act. Daniel was screaming to get Muhammad's attention. Muhammad could barely hear him, so he held up his pointer finger. Daniel stopped talking. Muhammad turned on his smartphone's scribe feature. Muhammad knocked his index and middle finger on his lips twice. This was an international sign for a friend to turn on their scribe in a club application. The crew saw this and reacted. "Did you connect to Genius?" Daniel's voice was picked up by the microphone on Muhammad's wrist phone, and a text appeared on the bottom of Muhammad's vision. "All I see is my face!" "Who are you in there?" Muhammad screamed. "It's me, Daniel. I don't want Abrar or anyone else knowing I'm here, and you shouldn't either." "It's your brother," Gabriel said. "Brandon." His jawbone moved, and the digital copy of his jawbone did too. "Oh, I see." Muhammad glanced again at the thousands of tiny reflections in Daniel's mask and continued. "Good. Yeah, I'm connected to his Genius. You all can read me?" Daniel, Gabriel, and Brandon nodded their heads. "Wow, brother, you're broadcasting your profile. Turn that off. I did," the disco ball said. The skull and Summer Sky both spoke about turning off their Genius account's broadcast. "What's going to happen?" "Nothing." "The bar," Muhammad pointed to the map on his wrist phone screen, and again pointed past the crowd of maskless men in wigs, men in sparkling skirts and men in glittery blouses waving cheerleading pom-poms, is over there. Why do we care where the bar is, brother? I say we have a drink. Daniel, Gabriel, and Brandon read this in the bottom of their field of vision, and each associated it with some form of water. Of non-alcoholic drinks? Brandon asked. Of course, Daniel said. Look around. People are having fun. This is why I came, Mohammad said, leading the three. The four made a turn and encountered a shocking sight. A man wearing only a purple cape and another skull mask was boning a woman with Skittles-colored dreadlocks. Daniel, Gabriel, and Brandon hid their eyes, but not Mohammad. This is forbidden, Daniel shouted. Mohammad watched as the woman in the bandit mask allowed Skeletor to hide his hairy Houdini between her fat, twerking ass cheeks. This is a bad place. I can't even look, Gabriel said, gazing at the floor as he walked far around the couple as if the two merrymakers had the plague. Yeah, keep moving, Mohammad said, moving around another dude rocking on his feet like a human metronome into a chick. Muhammad's trek to the bar was intercepted by a portly fellow in front of a harem of female escorts. This man was dressed in his usual attire of a tuxedo and prescription smart glasses. His hair was a natural salt and pepper color. You made it. I'm Dominic Henderson. Oh, this is hard to believe. Ladies, look who it is. Muhammad shook Dominic's floating hand. The models either looked around or fiddled with their hair and expensive necklaces. Muhammad read overlaying his vision the first and last name of the person in front of him, as well as his industry. Adult entertainment, it said, and he was the homeowner. Dominic limited his information to these 3 facts while broadcasting tonight. Muhammad, it's wonderful to have you here. It's such a real honor. The 2 men released their shake. That's a strong handshake. Dominic covered his big belly and laughed at Muhammad's comment. Surely my hand can't hurt yours. You're fine. Dominic's women continued to stand behind him like his shadow's ornaments. The 3 women's boredom peaked, and all at once their left pointer fingers each converged on their own wrist phones, as if rehearsed. What do you want? Do you need anything? We have cigars on ice and whatever you can imagine to drink. Yes, a drink. Dominic heard Muhammad's answer, and his facial expression was so animated it seemed his 2 caterpillar brows sprung off his dome to do the Lindy Hop. You will drink? Dominic cackled. I guess I will. I did lose my fight. I heard. Don't feel bad. I've never been in a fight, for goodness sake. I could never ever do what you do. I'm a lover, as you know. Here, I'll walk you to my bar. I have plenty of hooch and other stuff. Oh, before I forget, you have to check out my new jacuzzi. Sure. You're gonna need trunks. What size are you? Dominic placed his arm around Muhammad. Everyone in the crowd watched the 2. 36. Great. I have some real treats for you. What would you like to drink? I don't know. Virgin blood. This is good. Hard liquor is only for men that lead hard lives. Yeah, I don't want to get sick. You won't. We'll have one together. And you should only have 1 drink per hour, young man, of anything. Unless you really want to get fit-chased. Dominic laughed with eyes closed. You know, tonight is going to change your life, right? I don't know. It will. It will, yeah. Wait. Why? All right, boss. Listen, tonight is going to change your life for the better. It's a shame what happened. You're my favorite fighter of all time. You need to realize all the good you do hasn't rewarded you. While you're here, you need to have fun. If you allow yourself to have fun and not judge everyone by thinking you need to bring God in here or anywhere, it'll make your life improve. Speaking of which, tonight in the game room, around 1:45, a special event is taking place. The one I wanted you to lead. That's why I sent you an invitation. You want me to lead what? In a game room? You will be the guest of honor. Please. Dominic placed his hands together over his belly button and shook them. Okay, Send a reminder.
Oh, wonderful. He patted his hands on Mohammed's face. Mohammed wiggled his face out of the touchy old man's hands. I'll forget and leave if you don't. Oh, you're gonna leave? I don't know. I'm here for some reason. They strolled through the crowd, dancing in the dark lights, and past a woman with hand fans, wearing fox fur, no top, and zebra leggings. Sure you are. I asked you to come, Dominic said to Mohammed. A group of ladies passed Dominic. The one woman with sequins on her face and a tiara on her head blew a cloud of shimmering plastic dust in his face, smiled at him, and kept walking. He turned to look and flicked the reflective pieces of plastic off his nose's bridge. Dominic perved for a second at the young models. You're here for fun. He pointed at the females' derrieres. Mohammed avoided eye contact. But mainly for my gaming party. You'll love it. I have the fastest gaming theater in Nevada. I live stream my games to millions of people. Cool. Make room, people, Dominic boomed out in a loud voice. A wall of empty-handed heathens moved out of the way, like the Red Sea before Moses. Daniel, Gabriel, and Brannon drafted behind Mohammed and merged with the models trailing Dominic. So, I'll see what happens about the game. He bit his cigar with a Cheshire Cat grin and continued. Wait till you get a few drinks and my hose over there talk to you. He winked through his thick prescription smart lenses that magnified his eyes and eyelids. Oh shit. Dominic suddenly tapped the arm of his smart glasses and read the message. Shit, shit, shit. Neighbors called the cops again and someone beat up Marcy and stole her yay. The model with a nose ring put her glove over her cherry red lips, but the others kept watching their self-scrolling news feeds on their screens. I'm sorry, this is an emergency. Drinks are over there. There's a full menu in the dining hall. Henry's on the grill near the pool. I need to take care of this. Dante. The manic acting bartender, for the first time all night, paused to listen to his boss. VIP. Dominic dipped his head toward Mohammed and split the scene. The imaginary play button on Dante's work shift was hit, and he returned to dashing toward the liquor cabinet while emptying a bottle into a glass. Dominic's cool. Not. I thought he'd never shut up. So you're about to drink? Daniel asked. Yeah, we all will, right? Mohammed studied their reactions. I'm not, Gabriel said, shaking his head side to side. Mohammed reached the bartender. Are you serious? Come on, one drink. His brothers each objected to the proposition of swallowing booze. Good evening, sir. What would you like? Asked the tall, skeleton-like male model with hair that grew long on one side. What's your most expensive drink? Wine or liquor? Liquor. We have Slav Fianna, Irish whiskey, 64-year-old Wraiths, and our most expensive vodka is Matanuska Distillery's Gem. Mohammed thumbed his jaw. What are you doing? Daniel asked. We're gonna meet people. I'm gonna be normal. Be like everyone else. Daniel looked at a confused Gabriel and Brannon. Mohammed casually glanced back at the bartender. That vodka. Gem. Why is it called Gem? Well, see these precious stones in the bottle? The bartender with a haircut that is basically a crooked-ass mullet elevated the bottle. He pointed to the rainbow of stones running down the neck. The vodka pours over these, and it gives it a softer flavor. Do I drink it a certain way? I've seen people ask that in movies.
I'd have it straight up, personally, but you can have it however you want it. I'll have it up straight. Is that what you said? Anybody else? Brannon? Mohammed saw his brother's reactions, which were to roll their eyes in their sockets like two impacted number 15 billiard balls. You all should. I'm having one. The bony-cheeked bartender began untwisting the cap. You're gonna drink that? Daniel asked from behind his disco ball mask. Mohammed remained silent. Alcohol is forbidden by God. It mustn't be consumed ever. And after all that has happened, how could he? Daniel asked the skeleton in blue sky. A man with Fabio-like hair saw the bartender with a fancy bottle. Hold on, he shouted obnoxiously for all to hear. Is that Jim? It is. The bartender with a pointy nose and half-shaved dome piece answered. Who's drinking that? He asked the bartender. The bartender was too busy to answer. Stupid nobody. This comment caused laughter in a group listening to the long blonde-haired man. I'm drinking it. What are you drinking? The man who spent hours a day preening his hair turned to look at Mohammad. Mohammad was caught by surprise because the dude was cross-eyed. He sloshed his glass of red liquid. Cranberry Svedka, the most popular vodka in the world. One eye was gazing off at the smart wall and the other was directed at Mohammad. Mohammad was weirded out because he couldn't tell if he was being engaged or if the chameleon-eyed man was concentrating on the television. So, Mohammad followed the man's other line of sight to be polite. Mohammad became distracted by the media playing on the smart wall behind him. Sports newscasters were arguing with each other about Boris's possession of the crown. Mohammad stared at footage of crowds celebrating in the morning streets of Moscow. He turned back and the man was whispering to his buddy in a tuxedo. A third member of their crew, who resembled a 12-year-old because he was small and had an underdeveloped face, looked up at his friends and lightly laughed with them. What? Mohammad asked the man with thick blonde hair and eyes that should be useful for both texting and driving a dumb car. You. I'd never imagine you. Here. His brown-haired buddy in a tux said, Oh, son, that is crazy. Mohammad tilted his head, because by reading their faces, he didn't know if they were clowning him or fans. He heard the man with half a haircut say, Here. The emaciated-looking bartender slid a vodka-filled shot glass to Mohammad. Mohammad leaned in and picked up the crystal. I'll have the bottle. Mohammad snatched it, and the male model said nothing in opposition, due to ass clown's status. Daniel, Gabriel, and Brandon studied Mohammad's erratic and new behavior. Here, you want this? He offered the shot to the stranger. The blonde-haired man wrinkled his face and put up both hands at first, leaned his head back with wide-open eyes, and said, Only 'cause it's Jim. The handsome man with brown hair added, That makes no sense, son. He doesn't drink. Mohammad kept his lips on the mouth of the bottle and raised its base above his head. Clear liquid expanded his cheeks, and he swallowed. The cross-eyed man watched the fighter with one eye and a round, open mouth. He nodded his head and took his shot. Mohammad coughed. Woo! That hurts, in a good way. The Fabio wannabe sort of looked at Mohammad and said, Oh, come on, you could rinse your mouth out with it if it wasn't so pricey. We need to see if he's got a brain injury, Brandon said, circling his finger around his cheekbone. NAC said he's fine, Daniel responded. Brandon moved Daniel out of the way and waved his right hand in front of Mohammad. Mohammad's first drinking buddy stepped back on the beer-soaked floor from the soulless ginger's invasion of his personal space. Follow my finger, a skull said. Mohammad watched the swaying finger. What are you doing? I'm fine. I'm making sure you don't have TBI. Brandon raised his other 4 fingers and kept his right hand in Mohammad's face. Begone, curse! Begone, evil eye! Mohammad waved Brandon's hand away and said, Stop it! I'm not cursed. I hate having to repeat myself. Brandon was staring hard into Mohammad's eyes. You've done more anti-drug campaigns than any other athlete, and you're drinking, in public. I can't tell you how to live, you know. You pay me to be by your side, but as a friend, this is dumb. Look at you 3. Close your mouths if none of you are drinking with me. Hey, please don't bite at us because of your loss, Daniel said, as bodies and flashes of light reflected across the mirrors of his face. You're not getting bit. I love you. I love both of you. I love all of you. But I want you to understand what's happening before you judge. What should we understand? Daniel asked. What Dominic said makes sense. I'm dealing with it by having fun. Yes, you're sinning. But I'm not. God will respond. He will reach out to me. No, he won't. You are running from him. You are scared of God. When God sends his wrath, you must run towards him. There's a part of me I'm listening to none of you here. None of you believe me when I say God will answer me for coming to Dominic's party, and if he doesn't give me a sign, then I'm right. God's not angry with me. Wait, what up? I'm leapfrogging into your convo because it's so funny to hear. What is this talk about running from God? The cross-eyed man asked. My brothers are telling me God is punishing me. These are your brothers? Yes, Gabriel, Daniel, and Brannon. No, don't tell him I'm your brother, said the mirror sphere. Who cares if people know you're here? I recognize you, Mohammad, obviously. Brannon and Gabriel glanced at each other and kept their masks on their heads. They held their hands out to be shook. The man with the blonde, curly hair down to his back kept his hand on the empty shot glass. And you are? Daniel asked in a detective-like tone. You're kidding. You don't know me? Sorry, I do not. Brannon and Gabriel abandoned their plans to shake his hand. What about now? He stood and placed both hands on his hips, elbows out, posing as he does on his world-famous television show. He posed for a good minute. Nothing sunk into these brothers. I'm T.P. Barnum. He folded his arms and showed all his teeth. He's T.P. Barnum's son. The man in a tuxedo with a super sweet pencil mustache and brown hair echoed. A brunette and the young man that resembled a child stood behind T.P. and glared at Mohammed's squad. Mohammad looked at his crew for information. They looked at him for information. T.P. unfolded his arms, stepped forward, and pointed to himself. I'm the host of Punk, the most popular prank show of all time, and damn, I look good. He adjusted a lock of hair while looking at his reflection from Daniel's mask. That's great. Do you guys know him? Gabriel asked with eyes looking up in confusion. Never heard of Punked. I worship God, praise his name, and train to fight. That's all I have time for, Daniel said in a condescending tone. You should improve your time management, TP said, and pointed his finger at Gabriel. And you should get your head out of the clouds. So funny, son, the man with brown hair said as he bitch-slapped his left palm. You should mind your business, Daniel said. What? TP asked. Mohammad jumped in and asked what his show was about and why he was at Dominic's party. TP dodged both of Mohammad's questions and answered Mohammad with his own inquiry. Bring me up to speed. You think God's not punishing you and your brothers think he is? Yeah, exactly. Mohammad was happy somebody understood him. So hold on. Wait. Stop the music. He blinked slowly and grinned. You all believe a powerful being in the clouds, TP pointed to Gabriel, is up there controlling things, and you all talk to it, and it talks back? That's so stupid, son. The dude in the tuxedo again punched his open hand. The celebrity slapped the back of his ingratiating partner's head. Max, shut up. I'm trying to be serious. Sorry. No, it's not stupid, Mohammad said. We believe that and more, Gabriel added as he stepped closer to TP. I've seen him, Daniel said, as if TP was nuts. You've seen him? Did you say? No way. What does he look like? I bet he has dark skin and talks with an accent? TP asked Daniel, as if the religious man before him was a mental patient. No, in my heart, he is talking light, Daniel answered. TP leaned back and burst into laughter. His crew were slapping their knees. The tall, long-haired blonde man whipped back his hair from his face and with his finger wiped a tear. That's rich, TP said to his crew. Don't make fun of them, Brannon said. The mood changed, and the men stopped laughing. The brunette inched back in her high heels. The cross-eyed man in a white V-neck shirt and his crew straightened their spines. Mohammad set the bottle of vodka on the stone counter. Eyes found eyes, and nobody said a word. The man with flawless blonde hair broke the silence and said, Good fight, Mohammad. Let's go. I got what I wanted, and it's gold. BT dubs, I'm the only god you'll meet. Remember that. They departed together, but bumped into masked people on their hasty exit. Did they have a problem? Gabriel asked. Troublemakers, Brannon said. People like that swarm these parties. What are we doing here? Can we go? Daniel asked. Forget them. Come here, Muhammad said. The men huddled together. Muhammad patted Daniel on his shoulder and curled Gabriel's wild blue yonder of a head in a headlock. Brannon stepped in closer to his crew. Follow me or doubt me. His brothers and friend tilted their heads. Muhammad released them from his huddle and walked away as they watched him blend into the crowd. He may have a concussion after all, Daniel said. I think so. I've never seen him like this, Brannon said. Muhammad took a second swig. He coughed from its bite and meandered into the cigar bar. The door closed behind him. Smells good in here. Approaching Muhammad was a spitting image of the Ask Jeeves guy. Gray hair wrapped only the side of his head, like a horseshoe, and he wore a red tie. The Jeeves dude's cheeks blushed, and he declared, You're having a good time. Oh, this? Yeah. He swished the bottle of vodka. Why's it smell so good in here? That's the Spanish cedar and tobacco. May I help you? Yeah, what goes with this? Vodka, sir? Are you looking to pair a cigar with vodka? Yeah, I guess. Mohammed looked at his drink as the steward thought about the answer. Sir, that is ridiculous. What? No cigar does. Do you know anything about cigars, may I ask? The elderly man crunched his teeth in anticipation of the answer. Not really. Oh, I'll show you everything. He rapidly clapped his hands a couple times. From how to properly cut the cigar to lighting and puffing. First, cigars we have here combine with the flavors found in cognac and spirits that are not bland, like your vodka. Like your whole bottle of vodka. Mohammed scratched his head. So, cigars can't be smoked with vodka? You may. It cleanses the palate, some argue. I'll find you a mild stogie to lengthen the flavors of both. The man surveyed the shelves. After a moment, he retrieved a humidor with the gilded letters Stradivarius branded into the wood. He opened the box and extracted a dark tube. The steward snapped a piece of cedar from a sheet and returned the wider chunk back into the box. Your Stradivarius, a Churchill, wrapped in 15-year-old leaves. If you look, you can see the seams are very tight. He held it up for Muhammad to see under the amber lighting. It'll be a sweet and spicy flavor. This is a mild cigar, though, to go with your drink. I advise small sips with this brand. You know what I mean by sips, right? Muhammad raised his left eyebrow. Yeah? Very well. Next, we shall cut it. He swept Muhammad over to where he cut cigars. The man handed Muhammad a cigar cutter. Do you want me to show you? No, it seems like this goes in here. Muhammad inserted the cigar's mouthpiece under the blade. Right there, a little above the shoulder. Just like that. Excellent. Now press it down fast. Muhammad sliced the cigar. Oh, gorgeous. Now sweep off debris with your nail. Muhammad did as the giddy man suggested. You'll use this to light your Stradivarius. He handed Muhammad the cedar spill. And when you do, never let the flame touch the cigar. I'll show you. That's all right. Muhammad was growing impatient, from the alcohol making him excited. Muhammad abandoned the cigar in Jeeves's hand, reached for another cigar, and grabbed it off the shelf. This looks fatter. He made way for the door, but not before he bit a chunk off the mouthpiece and spit it on the floor as if it were a grenade pin. No, you're drunk. The door closed. Booze was hitting the shit stain on the underpants of humanity, finally, and damn, it's about time. Now is when the story truly begins. In the corridor, one of Dominic's actresses and her boyfriend were walking and talking when Muhammad's drunk ass bumped into them. Muhammad dropped a cedar spill. The tall man in a purple cape said, My goodness, the modest mongoose. It's a privilege. Honey, it's Mohammed Hussein. The woman with colorful dreadlocks bowed her head. You okay? The man in a skull mask asked. Yep. You have a light for this? The man lit the fighter's cigar with the Zippo lighter. Mohammed puffed air through the cigar. Thanks, he coughed. You must be taking it well. I mean, my coworker lost his wife last fall, but not his friggin' job at the same time. You're tough. He took his lit cigar and went directly to the jacuzzi. The actor stood with the lighter flickering and his idea of sharing a personal anecdote snuffed out, because Mohammed wanted to meet other celebrities on the back deck. What an impolite man, the bandit-masked female said as she scratched her snatch. The security officer opened the patio door. Enjoy, sir. Mohammed walked up to the 3,000-gallon jacuzzi. He almost tripped over his jaw at the sight of a mating ball. Some were doing their lustful business with masks on, and others could not give less of a shit who was filming them. Peppered over the 2-story jacuzzi were drunk giggling sluts, men's frowning faces, men's straight faces, and hard cocks. A Lagosian model with streaks of red and green in her hair, made famous online for bouncing an espresso shot between her buns, belly flopped into a man. Her botched pencil dive stopped this dude from taking his old one eye to the optometrist. Her girlfriend stopped laughing once the dude with a broken dick started drowning and punching the bitch. Suddenly, a butler came forward and by clearing his throat unglued Muhammad's eyes from this bacchanalian festival. Excuse me, sir. Yeah? My name is Baldwin. I am a servant here at the estate. Here are your size 36 trunks. Oh, yeah. Thanks. Where can I change? Just any bathroom? Are you connected to Mr. Henderson's genius? Yeah. I see you. Baldwin tapped his tablet. I sent a key to you. The water closet is on the top floor. Thanks. As soon as one person noticed Mohammed, quickly 24 people recognized him and ended their punching, clawing, nipple-licking, and fornicating. Mohammed stared at the savages staring at him. He gulped. Thanks. Mohammed raced back into the house. The crowd resumed their pursuit of happiness. So, the asshat hiked up the steps. He toured the noiseless upstairs hallway. Here, Dominic's 2 walls were loaded with awards and novelties. Mohammed paused, took a drag from his cigar, and struggled to comprehend why in one of the glass cabinets rested a golden penis. Next to the golden schlong was a miniature bronze replica of a couple, frozen in time, performing the butter churner position to commemorate the year's best sex position in a film. Also in the same display case was a dick sculpted from stone for the ceremonial event in a brown-eyed Fraulein sex cult. Back when mammoths ate and shit their way across the grasslands of Europe. Wow, a small club for beating people, Mohammed whispered in regards to the Paleolithic dildo. In the other case, Mohammed assumed plastic replicas of medieval weaponry were on exhibit, but in fact they were differing sadist cock rings and an ass cheek spreader. Dummy wagged his head, never figuring out why those items were made, and moved on to find a bathroom. Mohammed was dressed in his trunks, but dreaded returning to the jacuzzi, where everyone judged him. While leaving the bathroom, he discovered, down the hall, 2 security officers guarding foggy glass doors. What's in there? The guards squinted at Mohammed. Nobody can go in there. That's Mr. Henderson's private jacuzzi. His gay mistresses are in there, the younger guard answered. Oh, can I look? Sorry, the big-nosed, gray-haired man said. Wait, no way, Gramps, it's Mohammed Hussein. That's me. The younger man grabbed Mohammed's hand and shook it. I can't believe it. It's you. Damn. The older security guard smiled and shook Mohammed's hand too. We saw your fight. I thought you were gonna win. Yeah, me too. So what's happening behind these doors? It says here he's on the VIP list, the old man with a fat schnoz mumbled. Yeah, he's gonna be leading the charge on Dalton Castle. He should meet the gamestresses on that note. I was curious. It's no big deal if not. The younger man swung open the door. No, go in and meet him. You sure? Muhammad entered the private jacuzzi, and there reclined 3 women in bikinis. A redhead and a brunette were talking to each other. Way less crowded, Muhammad said, as warm moisture hit his face. Have fun. The young man closed the door. Muhammad knew he was intruding, but also knew if he were polite and went with the moment, the women perhaps would accept him. Excuse me, may I jump in? He asked, limping toward the jacuzzi. His legs were now burning from exhaustion. How'd you get in here? The brunette turned to ask. I was let in. I'm a special guest. I see you brought drinks for us, the redhead said. He glanced at his bottle of fermented potatoes. Yep. You came to win us over? The brunette asked. This bitch won't want you in here, but we do, the redhead said, ice grilling the female with 3 hearts tatted between her boobies. He lifted his shirt off and walked down the jacuzzi steps. The line of bubbling water rose around his chiseled obliques, up to his wide shoulders, as he squatted on the seat. Muhammad was relieved there was space for him. Don't talk about me, bitch, snapped the noirette, with closed eyes. Shit, go somewhere, the red-headed mumbled. You're just angry 'cause Dominic knows you suck. The Asian-looking woman ignored the redhead's comment. Oh, hey guys, it's that fighter, the brunette said in a squeaky voice and dovish tone. The shooting jet sweeping up and down Muhammad's neck and back muscles muted the bitches. It is, the redhead answered her friend. Poor guy. What? He lost his fight, his job, and his parents. They were killed by terrorists. Oh my God, that's so sad. The third woman rested on the pillow and simmered in silence. I know, right? The brunette replied. Hey, Destiny, here's someone unluckier than you. Muhammad didn't see what happened. He only heard splashing and slapping noises. He launched open his eyes as water hit him and he saw the redhead was now underwater, being punched in the face. The screaming brunette scooted her little ass out of the jacuzzi. Muhammad leaped forward and with arms extended placed his hands around both women's necks. Cut it out, both of you. Both women held onto his wrists while hissing and clawing at each other. He glanced at the redhead. Her hair was wet, lipstick was smeared, an unglued eyelash dangled. Her nostrils were bubbling, and makeup ran down her face. She looked like Harley Quinn's childhood doll. He looked at the other woman. Immediately, her green eyes transmitted a mystical signal to Muhammad. Pretty eyes on a pretty face get most men, I've noticed, over the eons. Muhammad released his grip on the redhead. Get out of here. The redhead stumbled out of the jacuzzi. Get off me. The Asian-looking woman yanked Muhammad's hands off her. He studied her face. The world called her a supermodel because the space between her 2 pupils and her 2 pupils to her lips were equal in distance. Down to the atom. The 2 women grabbed their towels and left the room, cursing and tattling on Destiny. Hey! She clapped her hands in Muhammad's face. Muhammad didn't even notice her clapping in his face. You just get out of brain surgery? She asked, clicking her thumb and middle finger in his bearded face. Muhammad was enamored by her tits and didn't even notice the 2 security guards charging Destiny. What is it this time, Destiny? The younger guard asked. Great, you 2. That stupid hoe put her hands on me first. I'm telling Dominic. The Asian-looking woman shut her eyes again and slipped back into the boiling water. Since her breasts were out of sight, Muhammad blinked and realized the security officers were towering over him and the woman. All right, Destiny, you were told before not to do this, the young guard said, with authority. She was teasing me. You can't beat your coworkers up. This is the last straw. She remained seated, her back pressed against the back mount. Let's go. Destiny didn't move a muscle. The young guard looked at the other guard, and to not look weak, shouted, Get out! The second older guard, with the rum nose, attempted to grab her by the armpit. You put your hands on me, Simon! I scream rape, you goddamn bridge troll! Muhammad had never seen a woman so defiant and full of so much spirit. Hold on, let her stay. The guards turned to Muhammad. Why? Those women were picking on her. The guards looked at each other. Let her stay. The one guard walked back towards the hallway, and the elderly man followed him. The door closed behind them. I could have gotten them to leave. Nobody asked you to bark orders. What is your problem? I'm all worked up now. You're worked up? Nobody's going to talk to me like that. He admired this young woman. She had a face that demanded attention. What happened? It doesn't matter. She's gone, like I wanted. Her and her bitch. You're aggressive. I'm Alaskan Native, she said, with a slow response and a chin held high. The woman didn't utter another word, as if those 3 words contained a galaxy of different reasons to respect her. Tss. My cigar. It took me 20 minutes to get that. Mohammad skimmed it out of the water and threw the cigar on the vitrified tiles. He sat back down and studied the steam rising towards the ceiling fan. One thing after another, he said, taking a swig of vodka. How old are you? He asked. 20. What brings you to Vegas? I live here. Oh, do you? Yeah. Can you grab my e-cigarette out of my purse up there? I need my nicotine. He watched her thick lips enunciate the words and listened to her soprano voice. This woman's super high cheekbones and almond-shaped eyes were pleasant to observe. Mohammad got out of the water and dug around in her pink purse. He saw a glass pipe, tampons, and then found what she wanted and returned to the jacuzzi. She snatched it from him and inhaled the vaporized nicotine. She leaned her head back against the cushion. May I have a drink, hun? Her lips were the largest he had seen on a woman. Sure. She leaned forward and grabbed the bottle. She took a gulp. You're my type of guy. Which is? A man with a bottle of good vodka. Oh. Mohammad avoided eye contact and twiddled his thumbs. You want to hear something? Sure. This bottle and that bitch Crystal have something in common. What's that? They're both empty from the neck up. Mohammad told himself not to focus on her tits and how they were floating in the water. Seconds turned into minutes, and minutes turned into hours, when Mohammad finally reacted. He curled his mouth and huffed in a slow rhythm. Oh. Oh. Hopefully you'll screw me better than you laugh at my jokes? His eyes and mouth popped open because of what she said. I'm married, and it's against everything I believe. Oh, yeah. She bit her pinky nail. Mohammad was repeating her statement in his head. He looked underwater at her body in the black bikini. Adultery excites you? It does me. No, adultery is illegal. Every man knows that, and every man fantasizes about it. I don't. My wife and I are happy. I'll show you. Genius. Pull up photos of Angelica and me. He lifted his phone from the water. Here she is. Destiny saw a woman with dark skin, soft shoulders, and fabric covering her hair. She has a nice smile. She'd look better if she wore makeup. You two screw every night? That's none of your business. Who are you? I'm a bitch. This foul-mouthed model took another slug and handed the bottle back to Mohammad in a very feminine manner. What a curious woman, he thought. Strong, and yet delicate. That's the best distillery in the world. It's glacier water. You must have good taste, she said. He took a sip. He noticed his tongue and throat no longer burned from the vodka. So, what's with your face? You fight the guards to get in my jacuzzi? She asked, exhaling smoke produced from her battery-powered cigarette. Mohammad hadn't met a person unfamiliar with him. Oh, you're another rent-a-cop? Seriously? Never. No, I'm Mohammad Hussein. I'm an MMA fighter. I was. I lost tonight. He pointed to his swollen face. Okay, yeah. Didn't notice with your face, hun. You have your heart still? Nobody had asked Mohammad such a question, nor worded such losses to a man in such a manner. I do have my heart, but it hurts. You're real. That gets me. Mohammad heard the inflection in her slow, calm voice. He hesitated to bring up the murder of his parents, But the alcohol diluted the strength of his inhibitions, and coupled with the jacuzzi's heat, his inner thoughts rose up to the surface like the bubbles around him to say, "Worse. God took my parents from me. It's so messed up." The girl with long, silky black hair only blinked her large eyes as she looked at the man with the large beard and mud-colored eyes. "I mean, my parents were killed in the name of God. I don't know what to make of it." The jacuzzi's foam seat was a chaise longue to this pussy. He was spilling his guts. "That's a jump," she slowly said. "Sorry." "You're all right, bae." Her sweet voice and soft words were like honey pouring on velvet, to Mohammad. "Sounds like it killed a part of you," she continued. "It feels like that, you're right, but I don't know why God let it happen." "It's good that it happened. It means it's time for you to live. Let your parents' wings fall or fly off, however you look at it, and be you. Have fun." "I don't know what you mean." "When parents die, your authentic self comes out. It happens in everyone when their parents kick the bucket." All at once, there was a crashing noise from the window, followed by a maniacal laugh. A man fell to the floor. "Da fuck?" the raven-haired woman asked, looking with concern at the commotion. "Can I help you, pal?" Mohammad asked the man, whose head was sticking out the window. "Ah, that's an easy entrance," the stranger said, pulling his head inside the building. The man's face was now exposed. He had a full mustache. "Oh shit, I'm cock-blocking you." The man wore a snakeskin shirt. He got up off his knees and strolled over toward the jacuzzi, intentionally showing Mohammad and the woman his wrists as a gesture of goodwill. "Cat burglar," the woman said to Mohammad in a nervous tone. "Guilty, if by cat burglar you mean pussy burglar. I'll snatch that snatch. Actually, I'm testing the security of this home. It fails." He smiled at Destiny. "Yeah, right. You know there's a door over there," Destiny said. He glanced back at the broken window, pointed with his thumb, and said, "There's one there, but no steps to it." "Holy shit! Look at your face!" "Oh! Oh my God! I didn't recognize you. No way!" "The Modest Mongoose! The Modest Mongoose! I'm your biggest fan! The biggest fan!" The man held both hands over his mouth. "You scared?" Mohammad asked Destiny. "No," she answered. "What's your story?" Mohammad asked the man. "I'm awesome." "No, why are you climbing through the window? We're 40 feet up." "Wow, yeah, God damn it. So I'm on the run from these two orangutans who may come swinging through here asking about a handsome plastic surgeon who burst through that window. If that happens, tell them no such thing happened. Nobody came through that window. In fact, tell them that that is crazy talk. Tell them to suck your dick for talking crazy to one of the world's best fighters." He patted Mohammad on the back. "Oh my God," the Alaskan woman said with a smirk. "Ah, some coke of theirs dropped in my pocket." He let out a hyena-like laugh. "It happens," the woman said, with hearts for eyes. Mohammad noticed how natural the female was around such a rowdy person. His wide pupils were fixed on the two, and he suddenly stopped engaging them, raced away, and put his ear up against the steamy glass. A moment later, he returned from the door to finish speaking with them as quickly as he left them. "Here, champ, smell this." The man leaned down and extended his hand out to Mohammad. Mohammad looked up at the man with the Tom Selleck mustache. Mohammad's hand received a ceramic jar. He opened up the container with his other hand and knew from the look of the white powder it was a drug. "You want it, don't you? You know what? It's yours. It'll cheer you up after all the shit I heard you went through." He palmed Muhammad's shoulder and continued, "God wants you to have it." "Does he?" "I don't believe in God. For some reason I said it to you specifically. Maybe because in this wild and chaotic and infinite place, I'm just a dummy to some power greater than me who whispers thoughts in my ears. Or maybe I said it in the hope someone super religious like yourself being at Dom's party means the stars have aligned and you get to feel what I feel like, brother. Either way, I'm tore up from the floor up and never not ever feeling down from the ceiling down. Oh, I'm on fire and I ain't no liar." He roosted next to Mohammad with his thumbs up and smiled for an uncomfortably long time. Finally, he dropped his smile and straightened his legs and looked down at the two. Okay, I guess no selfie with Callie's #1 plastic surgeon? That's fine. The man in a Cobra shirt stopped mid-sentence to level his arms like an umpire and shout, "You look amazing! Who did your breasts? That Chinese prick? Li Tul Wang?" "Nobody." The young Alaskan native female answered. Upon receiving her news, he nodded his head and quickly relaxed his posture. "So you'll never be seeing me, and in that case, it is with much sadness I bid you adieu." He flipped his fingers and bowed. "Champ, love ya. I'm off to find myself a fluffer." He opened the door and looked down both halls. He screamed to the guards and jetted towards them. "Boys, oh geez, look at you. Rudolph the red-nosed proboscis monkey with all that shit roaming all over your face. I'm the best goddamn plastic surgeon, and today..." His conversation ended with the closing door. "Is that cocaine?" Destiny asked. "Yeah." "Oh shit, babe, let's do some." Mohammad had never used drugs. He debated on how to respond. "Do some?" "Oh, come on. You've never done it, have you?" She was no longer tired and disconnected in her character. An energy from somewhere took hold of her. "Please?" She flapped her naturally long eyelashes. Mohammad heard himself lie to her. He felt odd doing it, but didn't stop himself. "Let's do it." She rubbed her knees. "Yeah." "Come on. Get out of the water. The moisture will kill it."